What's happening, weirdos? This is Andy Hull from Manchester Orchestra, one of my favorite bands and now one of my favorite people. He is incredible. He is interesting. He is funny. He is kind. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Let's get to it. As I always say, only thing to plug are my tour dates at peteholmes.com. We also have my vinyl. We're doing a special thing with the vinyl of Dirty Clean, the last remaining copies of Dirty Clean, my special on HBO, which has bits like that doesn't make any fucking sense. We have a few left on vinyl, and we're going to get rid of them. And the way we're going to get rid of them is you can go to peteholmes.com and buy it, and all 100% of the proceeds are going to Homeboy Industries, as you know, an organization very near and dear to my heart. So do something good for charity, do it for Homeboy, and get yourself a copy of Dirty Clean by going to peteholmes.com. And hope to see you out on the road. Chicago, Dania Improv in Florida. They're all on peteholmes.com. Just go check that out if you want to see me. Or largo-la.com for my monthly show here in Los Angeles. We have one in March. Hope to see you there. Adam Sandler was there the last time. It was awesome. Hope you can make it this month or any month, whenever you hear this. I have a monthly show at Largo in Los Angeles, my favorite place to perform. Largo, not just Los Angeles as a whole. And get Dirty Clean on peteholmes.com. That's it. All right, let's get into Andy Hull. Man, I love this conversation. I really hope you do too. Get into it. But you were a nice hug. We hugged.
Immediately.
Well, I'm trying to. We're just gonna go. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Welcome to the show. There's none of that.
I know. I'm a fan.
Okay. Are you?
No, I am. Yes.
This is so
been
fun.
a fan of you for a long time.
Can
so
I
love
say
being here.
It's such a privilege to talk to you.
Oh, man.
I'm such a fan as
Thank
well.
you.
And this morning to prep, see, we don't have tons and tons of musicians on. I would like to, but what's fun about researching a musician is you just put on their record.
That's true. Yes.
It's not like I read I digged around a little bit, but it's so nice to just be able to put it on, and it doesn't demand. It's a different experience. It's a hard experience. You know what I mean? So it just sort of washes over you. So it's not research. You're like, let's step inside Andy.
Totally. You're like, it's like The Cell. Remember that movie, The Cell?
I do remember. Was it Scarlett Johansson?
It was J-Lo.
No, J-Lo.
Going inside the murderer's mind, and inside it's just like, it's like insanity. That's sort of what a record is for an artist, I think, you know?
Going in. And it's a little bit.
You're like living in it.
It's vulnerable.
Oh, my God.
For you, I mean.
The most. Yes. Right? Oh, yeah.
I don't mean you should feel vulnerable, but I'm like, because I'm in there.
You kind of have to. Or at least I do.
I would think you would.
Yeah.
I remember Marshall Mathers. He's an up-and-coming rapper.
Yeah. No, I know. Clearly, I copied.
No, that's not his anymore. That's not
my
his
daughter
anymore.
and I, we dyed our hair pink over the holidays, and then the pink's all gone out. So now she's turning 10 in a couple months.
Get in my life.
Maisie, yeah.
One daughter?
One daughter, and then the little boy River, who's turning 6 in a couple weeks. Yeah, River Maze, man.
We have a 5, so you have a 6.
Yes.
It's a great age. I don't know about 10. You tell me about 10. Sounds great, dyeing your hair.
Yeah, it's you know what it is. Not to get too heavy too fast, but I've listened to your podcast too.
I was just going to quote
Eminem. Sorry. No, she's just getting into kind of realizing the world's a terrible place in spots of like. So why do people do war? You know, like questions like that at night. It's like, oh, gosh.
Unconscious guilt. That's all you have to say. Unconscious guilt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want your milkshake. All right. Anyway, Slim Shady.
No. We won't do Slim Shady. We'll dive right in and say it's Richard Rohr who taught me that 7 is the age that I'm not Catholic, but they would confirm them or something. Okay. And he said the reason psychologically, I don't know if it was done this way or if it's just after the fact made sense, but 7 is around the age of the wound, is what he would call, which is the disillusionment. They're kicked out of the garden. And he says around the age 10, they've like kind of completely forgotten that state of union that our 5-year-olds are sort of in.
Yes.
Where my daughter's just kind of
floating.
Totally fine. We try to give her little sprinkles. We go like, chicken is chicken. Like someone killed a chicken.
Right.
And she doesn't shy away from that at all. But I also don't know if she fully understands it. But by 10, apparently they do. So you're watching a kid
becoming, and she's just kind of going, it's like a, it's sad because when she was born, to go step into the music thing too, my brain, I'm sure you had a similar situation. I feel like most people do, where it's like everything just shifted massively, like what was important. And then it's like another layer of everything gets added to it because you're going, well, like you're looking at your parents different and you're looking at their parents different. And so I got really like...
Around what age? I'm sorry.
When she was born, essentially.
Oh, when you had your baby.
When I had Maisie,
I
yeah.
see. I missed
and then so I think the fear then started then of like, oh man, like that, at least for me, that was a big overwhelming feeling of like, she's gonna... Oh no! Like I brought her here, and if she has the same, I tell my wife all the time, she has a heavy heart. You know, she's thinking deep questions, and I'm like, that's always how I was as a kid, and I don't feel good for her for it. You know.
So I didn't mean to
start
talking while you weren't even done. And you know, I'm going to say what I was planning on saying.
No,
isn't that a lonely feeling?
I know, right?
And then like, and then you talk for 30 more seconds, and I go, I've always loved Tostitos, and it's like. Well, Jesus, man. Like you weren't even there. It's my least favorite thing. So I heard what you said. And the risk of bringing a child, okay, I actually don't think that's quite right. And I don't want to get overly spiritual, and I don't even know where you are spiritual, so I hope this isn't like nails on a chalkboard.
No, I'm in it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, you said you listen to the show.
Yeah.
I remember David Bazan was like, you just need to know some people, when you talk this way, it's nails on a chalkboard.
Oh,
He's just
wow.
like, just be aware.
That would make sense for... no, not at all for me.
Bazan.
I think, and here's the funny thing, I believe that you and my father went to the same seminary.
No.
Which is crazy.
He went to Gordon Seminary?
Yes.
See, I went to Gordon College, which is like the liberal arts college next to the seminary.
Next to the seminary.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
yes.
not even really next
My
to
sister
it,
told me
but-
that. My sister's also a big fan.
No
She was like, yeah, you should
way.
bring that up. So anyways.
He went to Gordon Seminary. Well, you can tell your dad, living,
Yes.
that for what it's worth, the perspective from Gordon students is like, oh, that's like the real place.
Oh, that's funny.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like Gordon's not a seminary, so we're like, if you're like at Gordon Seminary,
You usually Gordon normal.
Gordon, I don't want to put it down, but I didn't walk around going like, I'm in a pretty exclusive place, but meaning like, I don't know how to say it without being a dick, but it wasn't like super hard to get in. That's all I'm trying to say.
Right.
But I got the feeling that Gordon Seminary was a little more prestigious.
Really?
Prestigious,
That's funny.
depending on how you want to say
That
it.
wouldn't, that's not how my dad would carry himself.
Oh, really?
But anyways, point being, come from a lineage of, my grandfather was a pastor, dad was a pastor.
I knew this.
I chose rock and
Our
roll.
friend Tom Osborne. Do you know Tom?
Yeah, I don't know.
Tom is my music friend.
Okay, cool.
he introduced us through email to your team. But what was I going to say? Oh, so now feeling a green light to say this. So we have children, and we tell them eventually, like, this place is insane. Like we're dandelions in the cracks of a Manhattan sidewalk. We're vulnerable, and it's weird, and it's dangerous, and random, and frightening. It's also beautiful, and all these things. And it's like, so why do we do it? And then there's like to take it another click back, you could anthropomorphize the idea of God or the mystery, also risking everything to play this game. Like, and we're kind of mirroring that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Like God is, let's say you are infinite awareness. And in the same way that you have a dream, you decide to have this dream. But it's a risk to split yourself off into million. And as soon as you're like, I'd like to see what good feels like. Well, then there's going to be the other side of the coin. This is basic philosophy. It's very amateurish, but it's like you're going to have bad now.
Yeah.
So but why? Because we're compelled. Mm-hmm. And Rupert Spira always talks about that. It's like in the same way that parents, we risk our bodies much more than women, obviously, that give birth. But like we risk our bodies, our sanity,
our minds,
our minds. Yeah. Like we lose so much, but you never question it because you're in love with the potential.
Correct.
And I find comfort instead of saying like, the universe is so crazy. Why would we do this? I'm like, because we fucking love it. We'll risk anything.
It's an unmatched love, like that, And so, I had this theory over the holidays. I had my wife and I'll do this thing where we just give each other a couple days. So she'll go do a couple days, go chill. I'll keep the kids. Cheers.
That's incredible. That's a good gift.
It's a great gift. And I did New Year's Eve this year. So I had the kids. We did the whole thing. It was awesome. It was a perfect example of parenting though, like New Year's Eve night. My son slept in my bed. We stayed up till midnight. They're all like high on candy and just, that like, or like they get so tired and they they click back on. Remember that as a kid? You're like in that like late hour.
Of course, Leela did that at 5 a.m. today.
There you go.
She was like,
yes.
Bing!
Hey, I'm up.
And I got up. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I thought it was morning. And Val's like, she's in the other bed because I gave her the bed. I gave her the free bed. We're in a hotel.
Smart.
And then she was like, Pants. She calls me Pants. She goes, it's 4:50 a.m. I was like getting her dressed, just like in a fog.
Of
so
course,
you were in that
on.
fog because I was mirroring her energy. I was like, well, she's ready
up.
to go.
She's up. Yeah, we had this amazing day, and then the next day, it was not an amazing day. It was a tough day. And, it was like
because they stayed up.
They had stayed up, and like everything was just, and my son's, we reorganized my sister's room his sister's room, because she's older, he wants to do everything she's doing, but we can't organize his room because he has a 500-pound sailboat bed, in the middle of it. That I tried to tell him over and over, this cannot be moved by one person. Like it took me and your Uncle Robert like a day to get this in here.
But that doesn't make sense. I think about that all the time when I'm trying to tell Leela, like, I can't hold you the entire day. And she's like, why?
Yeah.
I'm like, but I don't want to admit it. It's like, because Dad's not infallible.
Exactly.
Because I want to be that.
Yes, of course.
I want to be cool.
So I had this thing pop in my head, this theory, this sort of realization where I was like, they are, and it was tough. It was just one of these days where I finally had to get stern, and I hate that. You got to come circle back around and be like, hey, like I had to do that because you weren't listening to me and you were like about to damage the floor.
Raising my hand. It's all about repair.
100%.
You have to show them that people have limits.
Yes.
They have to see.
I did the wrong thing there. I handled that wrong. I lost my patience,
Just saying like a dad got mad and it was a mistake. By the way, we're getting modern dad mad, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course.
Know what I mean?
Nowhere close.
And you always want to be
that.
like, you should have. Oh, you should have seen the 1980s.
I know, but then also I'm sure you're going, but all the emotional damage that was happening there, I'd much rather be, this like, tied in, secure.
Of course, but they need to see that even big feelings are safe, and you're modeling. I'm talking to myself.
You're totally
right now.
Yeah,
because if I just go like, Leela, I've told this before, but I came in and she had dismantled the entire bed. All the sheets, there's like a foam thing on top of the bed that had been yanked off.
Oh no.
And I just all I did was like, Leela, that's all I did. She's hiding under the bed. And I was like, whatever it is what it is.
Yep.
And that's okay. But then I feel bad, like you're feeling bad in this story. We're cruising rapidly back to it. But I'm just saying, like Val always reminds me, I just want to give you that comfort.
Yeah.
It's that moment, I was going to say altercation, just that moment of tension or whatever is valuable because of the repair.
Yes.
And we want to just be always good, but like the moment where you go, I even said to her, I was like, baby, it's just like, if I took your train set apart, you'd be like, I have to put that all back together. That's all that happened. And she's going, and I'm like, why are you cowering right now?
I know.
Have I ever done anything? And that's what you want to say, but you just go like
100%.
I go real like, baby, it's okay. I talk like she's tripping on mushrooms, and I'm like a benevolent deity, and I'm like, it's okay.
It's okay.
Come, let me hold you.
I promise I'm safe.
And exactly, and then also the wisdom of doing nothing. Sometimes you just wait, and you go like, go ahead, feel this weird. You're playing a little game. Then you'll come snuggle and it'll feel so good.
Yes.
This is life, by the way.
It is. That's you're right.
Everything we don't want leads to something that we did want.
Yeah.
And the repair is everything. But keep going. So
anyway, the thing I realized, and then it's just
we can't move this boat.
Then it's day 3. Then it's solo parenting day 3, and I'm just going like, okay, well now there's no quiet, and now and it's the reason my wife is having the 3 days, to like go recharge that battery and get some sense. I started realizing how like important quiet is, and like, man, I'm a very like. I like relationships. I like being relational with people and checking in. And I'm sort of, I'll always reach out and say hi and do the thing. And if somebody's on my mind, but then, kids has taught me like the importance of like sometimes you don't need to talk to anybody for a minute and just recenter and get
You're
quiet.
You're dabbling in introversion.
I am. Yeah, I think so.
Because there's something that I realize it's one of my. I literally mapped out like my 5 most important personal qualities, and one of them is alone time. Like I just like it, not all the time.
Yeah.
But you know what another one is? You just said it. I'm getting such value out of just calling people just to tell them something great.
Yeah.
Just to tell them, because you know what you don't want to be? The name on the phone whenever you call, it's just you want something or something's wrong.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Just call and be like, I almost called Joe DeRosa. I just didn't have time, and I wanted to listen to your music. But I was like, I just wanted to be like, Joe, you've been such a good friend. Then you hang up and you feel like you had 9 cups of coffee.
And I think it also is sweet to someone else, too. And it's
Joe's not a hack. What a hack. What a hack. I meant Joe's a hack. No, Joe's incredible.
It's also a little piece of life that gives you where you could actually maybe affect someone else's day for free.
Yeah.
You know, and so I started it maybe 10 years ago. It was a conversation I was having with my mom. I was saying, I'm just going to start every time I think of somebody that I love, I'm just going to do it. Just make a habit of it. Send them a text.
This is
Thinking about you. I love you.
This is it.
And I think
it's a gift. If you want love, you give it.
And what's so insecure and weird about my brain too is when I first started doing it, I was like, I hope they don't think I want something, you know, where I was going like, I'm not trying to schmooze. It's like, and my mom was the one who was like, people want to hear that you love them. Tell them.
And they'll put it together.
Yeah.
They'll put it together when you don't go the dots. And then you're like, also, could you move this sailboat bed with me? Like, you know?
And that also means not just texting people that have like some, you know, more powerful position in my life. You know, it's talking about like people that I'm thinking about, you know, someone I went to high school with.
I'm so touched that you thought of this because it's been it's hard to have anything if you don't wish it for others. Is something that I'm figuring out.
Oh, yeah.
And like...
hard place to be, especially coming up. I'm sure comedy felt this way too, but with bands and artists, and you're always in constant comparison with each other. And it's like, once you realize that success is not like a finite pizza with just 8 slices, that like everyone's on their own thing.
And different timings and all that sort of stuff.
Like you said, like getting excited for people.
Yeah.
And victories for people, and actually being genuine about it.
I always say this, but when Dane Cook was doing colleges and was ripping through the college world, I was like, this is good. Because I would go do a college, you know, I'd be in the closet of the venue he played. But I'm like, these people are here because Dane was here a week ago and they liked the show.
Absolutely.
And he made, I'm not trying to make it about this, but he made a ton of money. I'm making a little bit of money. But you know what? It was paying the rent and it was helping everybody.
Absolutely.
Rising tide.
Yep.
Rising tide. And the people that, you tell me the music experience. We've talked about comedy cancer on the show. I don't want to make fun of cancer. It's such a serious thing, but that's what we called it. Was when people were like just haters and bitter and jealous, and they're at the bar and they're snarky and they're being outwardly snarky and just hating on, and you could feel it.
Yeah.
Like a shit smelling candle was all around them. And those people, you know, without almost no exceptions, I can't think of any exceptions, they all quit.
100%.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Same with the bands?
And could be wildly talented.
Of course. You know, every music documentary is... Well, it's either somebody that was on hard drugs or somebody was like just had the wrong mindset or something.
Or your head is so firmly up your own ass that like... I've seen this happen that's weird. I don't know if you've seen this, but like you start to think you're smarter than your audience, and so you start to dislike your audience for liking
These
you.
Idiots.
And that's crazy.
It is crazy. Well, would you comment on this?
Sure, yes.
But the energy required to be a front man, I don't know if you hate that term. I think that's cool.
It is the thing I have to be. Yes,
yeah, right.
Yeah,
totally.
Man. Yeah.
You know, Morrissey's a front man. He's a front man.
Very much so.
Yeah, exactly. But so that's okay. It's cool, is what I'm saying.
Yes, right.
We can own
it.
We
Yes,
can own it. It's okay. You're a friend
I am the lead singer in a band. Yes, I am. Yeah.
And you know, there's a charisma. You're supposed to be. You don't even have to be confident. There's a lot of bands I like that the lead isn't like. Yeah. This one's gonna fucking rock your side. It's not 1991
I don't have that one.
Anymore.
Yeah.
But the energy required to shepherd an audience through the experience of a show is not necessarily the same energy required to navigate the personal ins and outs of starting a band and kind of getting successful, right?
No.
That guy can't, Bono as the Fly can't be negotiating with a human.
And, well, I'm so happy we're here, too, because I also am, like, deeply inspired by the process of comedy. And so I just watch everything. I've seen everything. It's just, I'm like, and the way things are written, too. So I was going to say, with music, for me, at least, my experience, there's this third thing of the writing and creating period, which is also a different...
It is a
different set, you know?
Yeah, the front man isn't writing it.
No.
Exactly.
Not at all.
This is why we mentioned Eminem, but Bono. There are a lot of people that have, Garth Brooks famously, but that have they split themselves off into different people.
Yes.
And I completely get that.
So if I'm touring too much and not, or maybe we don't really tour too much since I've had kids, but if I'm exclusively performing, which is also selling, you know, the product, you're like, you're performing, but you're out there. It's just like a form of marketing. You know,
it is. We're out here. You have to be out here.
You have to be out here.
You have to give them I don't want to be your agent, but you give them an experience
absolutely
to marry the music to.
And take that experience extremely seriously, but not yourself seriously, but like, perform well and care about this. Yeah. And that part makes the whole, being the rock band dude, like something we say before we started the last couple of years, our bass player started saying it. He was like, there's like 3,000 people out here. Have we considered having fun? Wow. Do we think we should maybe? And I was like, yeah, why wouldn't we have fun? Wow. And now every show, it's like, let's have fun. Wow. This is crazy. This is our job. We're in a rock band.
What is your bass player's name?
Andy.
Does he ever go like this?
A lot. It's one of his key moves.
Have we ever thought about having fun? Why wouldn't you do
He knows
that?
all of them. The Seinfeld bass line. There's so many bass tricks, There's a lot of good bass things.
Jackie was a fun to blame. The easiest bass line ever. You know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe you got it
It's
from
amazing.
that bad rendition.
Well,
So the guy that performs the shows and does that aspect of marketing,
yes.
you were saying we don't tour too much, and that's not who writes the songs.
So basically, I'll look up and go like, because you said when you're putting together and starting a band, the other thing you're not thinking about is like what your dream is being like, I would like to start and maintain a moderately sized business.
Yes.
That's never the dream,
Dude, I wrote it down. Band management.
Oh, yeah.
Because one of the craziest, I say it a million times, but I'll say it a million more. Chris Rock is like when you give a comedian a TV show, give a band a record deal or whatever, it's like making a waiter the owner of the restaurant. And you're like,
really funny.
Now you're looking at spreadsheets and you're firing a bad busser or whatever. Like, what the fuck happened?
Oh, it's crazy.
And one of the people that I just called with a gratitude check-in call was my friend Oren Brimmer, who directed This Is the Pete Holmes Show backdrop. And I was like, we didn't know what we were doing. Mm-hmm. We didn't know. And we were just laughing.
Awesome.
We were like, we didn't know what we were doing. And I was like, I couldn't have done it without you. We didn't do it perfectly. But like, Jesus Christ, man, you fucking rocked it.
It feels like a heist at certain points. It was a heist. Totally.
It was a heist. So that's what it's like a band, right? You're good at writing songs and playing and performing and singing or whatever that skill set is.
Right.
But why would you be good at submitting for NACA?
Right. Or or the budgeting.
Budgeting, exactly.
And I will thank my folks for that, they sort of drilled in responsibility. I was the kid that like had to have the 10 items sewn into the winter coat that I would forget every day. It's just
not just your middies.
No, dude. If I didn't have a checklist implemented in my mind, I would have come here and like not had shoes on.
Really?
Yeah. If had to really
scattered.
Yeah, or just I'm somewhere else thinking about something.
Yeah,
I'm a lot of like this guy where I look like I'm upset, but I'm actually just like trying to figure out a bridge part.
Fun? We could. Okay, so we could also talk about the wonder of that, because if you're like me, there have been times when I had my brain scan and they were like, you have symptoms of ADHD, and they're like, we could put you on lithium.
Whoa.
Like a very small dose. I'm like, who guessed? Was it you, Mark? But they were like, we'll put you on a small dose of lithium. By the way, you can just buy lithium on Amazon. Who knew? Yeah, let's just keep that closed, Katie. My sensitive soul can't handle it. I can't handle it. That's also one of my questions. How sensitive are you?
Extremely. I couldn't be more sensitive.
Well, listening to the music, I was like, why is this resonating with me? Because I was like, oh, somebody is doing what art does for me, which is a sensitive person is reporting back and going like, this isn't just khakis and hot dogs, guys.
You know what That's great, yeah.
Like, it's a lot.
Yes.
And then when I listened to music, I was having such an emotional experience, just going like, someone gets it. And I really loved
that's
it.
Awesome.
What were we about to say, though? Because I won't forget to talk about sensitivity.
What were we saying? It was something about the small
majesty,
business.
The magic,
the wonder.
The wonder of like when you get up and you just have an idea, or I'm rocking my baby and a whole thing comes through. Yeah. And I used to, when I was rocking Lee right here in this house, I'd build a memory palace trying to remember 15 things. Yeah. Like it was a joke or it was a show or something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so anyway, the lithium, I was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather, what's helped me is being a little bit more deliberate with my schedule for what that's worth.
No, 100%. It is.
Even if you're like, these 3 hours are when I stare into space.
Yes. Or boundaries, even recently, it's like just having to implement certain things of like, it's in my career generally, 95% of the time, if something happens, it can probably be sorted out in like 12 hours from now.
Can I tell you? Look, I'm sorry that I'm going through a Tony Robbins phase, but this is what Tony Robbins says about that. He goes, he calls that urgent but not important, and that just changed my life. And he goes, you know what you want your life to be full of as much as possible, maybe 80%? Important but not urgent. So important but not urgent is hanging out with your kids. Obviously, that's important.
Yep.
But it's not urgent.
And that's something I've had to realize. Is like I want to be. It's hard. Like I have a 6-year-old, 10-year-old that are like, they're dialed in. You know, they're like
they feel pretty urgent, Pete.
They feel very comfortable in being as loud, and I love it. It's awesome. But it's also, I was noticing that when I would get dinged with something. There was a T-shirt order that didn't get fulfilled. The thing, it literally just took my whole mind, body, heart somewhere else. And now I'm kind of being an asshole without meaning to, but I'm aware I'm projecting it.
Can I tell you, I almost checked my email before you walked in here, and I was like, don't. Because I did a podcast. I was a guest on someone else's podcast, and I made the mistake. I had 30 minutes in the car. I was like, I'm just going to check emails. One of them is a show off for some city I have a bad memory of.
Yeah.
Do I want to do that? Oh. And then one is something like...
Then you're at the airport and the hotel in your brain, and you're like, what is the,
I'm already dreading the show. I'm already on stage and it's not going well. So like these minds...
There's a line from your show, and I believe John Mulaney's the one who says it, that when I saw it happen, I've like literally repeated it over my head, where he says something along, I'll butcher it, but it was like, the show is happening. The show is not happening. Why the fuck did I decide to do this for my job? Yes. And it's this sort of like, so I was like, that's exactly how I feel.
I wanted to be a comedian my whole life.
Why?
What's wrong with me?
Why did I do this? This is a terrible idea. I feel that way almost every single time I'm about to walk on stage.
Which is why we need the bass player that goes.
That's right.
Have we thought he has a cigarette dangling from his mouth?
Oh, you've met him.
Have we thought about having fun? But that...
Yes, exactly. Sorry.
So here's the power of minds like ours and millions of other people. This type of scattered style is what's harmful to us, the hyper-focus on whatever happened to come across, is also a gift, because if someone goes, have we thought about having fun, that's all it took.
Yes.
Someone said the word fun instead of the word T-shirt, unfulfilled T-shirt order.
Yep.
And then that same dysfunction becomes a superpower, because you can go, I'm going to look at fun instead, really hard, and then I'm going to have fun. Does that resonate?
That's really well put, yes.
So this is my whole thing now.
I love that.
And
that's right.
I'm just going to say it to you, because I'm going to say what I would say to you if we were just talking. The only hesitance is I've been saying it a lot on the show, is I've just decided that 10 a.m. to 12:30 is when I do creative stuff on days that I can schedule my day. Some days like this, we were in a hotel, blah, blah, blah. See, I can't even focus.
Yeah, exactly. I'm following.
But then 12:30 to 2, so 90 minutes, is just emails every day. Emails, texts, phone calls. And I'm putting texts in there because I fucking hate texts.
Yeah.
Even, not nice texts, but like, sometimes people just figure out that you're not a great email person and they're just texting you like an email.
You'd rather phone. Is that
I'd rather
easier?
you email it. So
okay, email it.
But it doesn't even matter now. So reach me however you want, because I'm going to do it from 12:30 to 2.
Okay.
And then they don't pile up.
Right.
And then I'm not looking at them at the park. I've been the dad pushing, and I'm just like, well, I'll just look at my email. And then I'm not pushing anymore. I am, but I'm not there anymore. Yes. Or I'm not as much there.
No, that's it.
And that's the problem. But then when you tell your brain, like we need a bass player.
Yeah.
In our minds that just goes, Andy, we don't do email. We do emails 12:30 to 2.
That's correct.
That's what we need. And it's lighting me up.
It's changing my life. I did not know I was going to tell this story, but I've been telling this story a lot to people because I've been having this realization. So I just implemented a thing as well. That's basically, it's 2 times a day. And I'm down, my manager would call me and we'll just knock it out then. So like the list of things.
Yes.
And then I know after 3 p.m. the whole rest of that day that there's nothing else that's coming until 11 a.m. the next day. And I can deal with that. If you tell me news is coming at 11, good, bad, medium, I can deal with that.
Yes.
It's the news that...
Well, when you keep it up here, It's like having 55 butterflies in your mind.
Yes.
And then you're sort of at the mercy of which one lands on your finger.
Yeah.
And maybe that is urgent but not important. Like let's say someone pitches a guest to the show. Katie knows those emails seem urgent.
Yeah.
I'd like to discuss. It's an all bold name from the new FX. And there's all this text and you're like, I gotta. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No.
As if you haven't had like guests on for a really long time. Like this is the thing.
And as if that couldn't wait until the next day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know it can wait until the next day, most things.
Correct.
And but everything is wearing urgent orange. It's wearing the most bright, and that's our whole day. Even like, what do I watch?
Right.
Like you're relaxing at the end of the day, and you're like, I know there's something I'm supposed to watch.
You know what I started doing?
Tell me.
This is a new thing. Last 6 months, started gaming.
Tell me everything.
Wasn't a gamer. Wasn't a gamer.
Talk about something you can hyper focus on.
Saw the Last of Us TV series.
Yes.
My best friend is a gamer. Always was amazed that he could like pull it off being a dad too. I was you know, like
no, that's a skill.
When I was in high school, I loved playing PlayStation. I had a Nintendo and that stuff, but I was never like in. So he let me borrow his PS5, and my therapist actually assured me of this too in an amazing way. I finished, so now I'm deep in it. It basically was amazing because it was the first thing I was able to really. I don't have a hobby. Like my hobby turned into my job.
Yeah.
And then like working out was a hobby for a bit, and that just became a part of like a thing that I just need to do.
Yeah,
and that helps me. Like, you know, brushing your teeth. It's like, just try and do that.
Just do it.
Just do it. And so I needed a hobby. And so I started doing it. And then because everything that I also love is art, you know, even film, like that was something. And then I got to score some movies and like got to, you know, and then I kind of can figure it out. Like the little bit of the magic was gone of like, how do they do this?
Right.
Like this was this art form that I never had considered
Sort of
where I'm like,
it.
I don't know how they're making a video game.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I play this game and it's like over the course of 3 months, I logged like 100 hours on this game, which like blew my mind when I saw the tally.
When did you do it?
I wake up in the morning. I would get up before the kids get up at like 5:30 a.m., dude, and be down there for like an hour. That's when I've been waking up. Oh yeah, it's crucial time. Crucial time. Crucial time.
It turns out, you know what's better than sleep? I'm 44. I just figured this out. What you figured out. Having time to do exactly what you want to do.
Anything you want.
Alone.
Oh, yeah.
In the morning.
I'm double shot of espresso down there, all quiet. Lights aren't even on yet. I have the headphones on. I got the video game headphones.
Are you in the chair that moves?
We're not there yet, but who knows? Next time I do the podcast, I'll just be full on. Just like I'm sponsored.
And, yeah, you can make a lot of money. But like, and that's a game about a dad shepherding.
And it makes you cry. Yeah. I mean, it was really story based and unbunbelievable, and I loved the show, and I'd heard the game was transcendent. It really was. I was laughing with my wife. I'm like, this thing made me. This video game just made me cry. 3 or 4 times. Not that takes a lot for me, to be honest with you. Like, heard a Randy Newman song I hadn't heard last week and like broke down in tears. And I was crying so much by this thing. I took a picture of myself because I thought it was so funny.
But I'm not. Why wouldn't you? You just found a ladder to get you guys out of a ditch. Totally. Just in time for her disease to be operated.
I know.
Unfortunately, the story was a little bit ruined for me. But I now you're making me want to play. It's amazing.
So my therapist, I said, what do you think? It's 100 hours on this game. Because it tells you on PlayStation, like, just so you know, you just got it to triple digits.
Yeah, you just rolled over.
What do you think? He's like, well, it's 100 hours that you didn't spend like worrying about something, and 100 hours you weren't on your phone. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's right.
You weren't. You know what that game wasn't doing? It wasn't giving you second by second updates of every human tragedy.
Correct.
Which, by the way, I know that's a sensitive thing because being informed is important. I keep being told. But I don't know if you need second by second updates on.
You just said urgency. It's the same thing that happens on our phone. That's why everything in life is that. I think is just because that's how it's all presented to us.
Yeah.
It's a ticker. You know.
I'm working. Tim Ferriss is a big airplane mode guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like
working towards airplane mode. Step.
I know because it's. I'm gonna say it. I stopped, but I'm gonna say it. It's dangerous to have your phone, like so in the morning, there's a certain meditation I do, it's on my phone, but I want to just have everything turned off. Because going back to being sensitive, it's always my dad. For some reason, a dad text can really make my day or like spin me out. Sure. And he's never saying anything mean, but even if he says like, check in with your mother. It would mean a lot. It triggers this whole like, I'm not my brother's keeper.
Right.
You know, like, I'm
Totally.
like, that's not my job.
Yeah, I'm living my own life.
I have my own family.
You check it on.
Yeah, you check it. I don't remember making any vow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't choose her.
Right. You chose her. But like, it's well-meaning, and I'm putting all of this stuff that may or may not be on there. How can we know? But like, I'm having this huge flood of emotion, so I'm working my way to some airplane mode.
I love that.
With a perfect love inside, working my way back to airplane mode. But yeah, that's huge. So the game was letting you. I don't know if you get that game euphoria. When I'm playing a game, I catch myself feeling very light and like floaty. Like I feel very good.
Yeah, there's something about getting something done too. There's a task at hand, and I like checking something off a list. You know, it's just like this feels good that I've I
did it.
I've upgraded to this shotgun that I can now kill more zombies with. But it's it feels good.
Isn't that like there aren't tons of zombies? They're like peppered.
Yeah, it's very fun. Yeah, they're barely in there, and it's it's sort of the game where they give you like a bullet and a knife that you got one shot with, and if you take the wrong step, it's over.
This is. A metaphor I use a lot is like, do you really want the cheat code on?
Right.
Like, and the one I always use is The Sims, and you play The Sims, a human simulator. And it's like playing House, basically.
Yeah.
And I'd use the code to give myself $1 billion, and it just would stop being fun. And I was like, well, that's similar to what's going on here. And then I remember playing Resident Evil in the 90s, and that's a one bullet game.
I'm playing that Resident Evil 2 right now is the game I'm on.
Like a remake?
Which is, and it's basically just, you're just walking through rooms trying to collect everything, investigating every little thing. It's like maddening, but also very satisfying when something happens. It's awesome.
But isn't there a real life lesson there? It's like you think you want infinite bullets, but you actually want 3 perfect bullets.
Right. Or, dude, the analogies that my brain has been making with video games, too, has been hilarious recently. I realized music is like a friend of mine's learning guitar. And I was like, and it's actually the friend who let me borrow his PS5 to play it. So he starts
changing your life.
He is. He literally is my best friend. So yeah, he already did that. And we're talking about it, and he's learning, and he's sending me voice memos, took lessons, and I've been friends with him since I was 15, and so I'm just encouraging him, to just keep going.
Is this Chris?
No, his name's Daniel.
Oh, okay. Chris is the first keyboard
He was,
player.
yes. He's no longer in the band anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, same era, we were all friends.
I just knew one friend. That
knew one friend.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
Slam dunk. If I was like, you mean Chris?
We all did live in a house together.
Okay.
So yes,
okay.
yes.
I'm in the ballpark.
Chris adjacent. Yes. So, anyways, I was like, it's like a really hard boss, like guitar. It's like it's about repetitive movements and continuing to do it. And the best advice I can give, and I guess it's just like anything, you just like keep going, reps. And this thing will slowly, you'll unlock a little something else to it.
There's something, when I was learning to play guitar, and I'd love to hear your experience, because you taught yourself to play guitar.
I did, yeah.
Which I think is really cool. I also, certainly not as well, but I taught myself how to play a series of instruments. So I want to know why.
That's awesome.
But also I want to see what this makes you think of. There's something really fun about figuring out how you play guitar. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you're looking at this is the 90s, so I'm looking at charts or something.
Yeah.
Like the dots on the fretboard, and I'm like, okay, a D is that. And I think the first time I played a D, I put my finger down like that, and then like that, like just down, instead of that, I was like doing that, like wrong.
Which, yeah.
But then you realize
it makes it cool.
It's kind of cool, and you see some people playing differently.
Yeah.
But then the moment when you realize, like, my hand is bigger than other hands, so I could play an A with just that finger.
Yes.
Just one finger,
Yeah.
and that made me feel like I was in relationship with it. I wasn't just an automaton. I was going like, how can? So it was very creative.
You created your own way. Yeah. Exactly.
And I still, I'll mix it up, but I still play an A that way.
Yeah.
And all these ways, like, I don't know. There was this like. Yeah, I know you're supposed to do it, but like you're not really hearing those last 2 strings on an A, so I don't even care if they're open or not. You know what I'm saying? Like
100%.
It's fun. It's empowering. As a kid, I was like, The first time I learned, I'm going to put this back to you, but when I learned what a power chord was, and I realized I knew how to play every song, I knew how to play on bass, on guitar.
That's exactly my experience with
Tell me.
a power chord.
Yes.
And I didn't even know, I was rocking a power chord without the pinky on there too. I just figured out the two.
Yes, that's what I was doing. The two-fingered this.
The two. That made sense to me because it's like there's one in the middle and it's this thing and it's this thing.
It wasn't this. It was this.
Yes, exactly.
And sometimes your middle finger, like Sid Vicious, I know he played bass, but you feel like you're in the Sex Pistols because you're giving everyone the finger.
Yes. And if you're doing an octave, I'm giving people the finger in like a ton of different
Yeah,
songs.
that's true.
So yeah, and then I could play like a version of a James Taylor song, or I could play a Green Day song. I was like, oh, this is, got it.
Yeah, that's right.
Got it.
And
I think.
I remember where I was because I started with bass when I realized if I knew the root note, I could play the power chord, and now I'm playing guitar.
That's right.
And my friend Tom, who I love Tom, but in the moment he was like, I don't think it's that simple. And I was like, yes, it is.
It is. It is. So I took a guitar lesson in the ninth grade early on. A friend and I went to take like lessons together, and he sat me down and said, what are you here for? What do you want to learn? I said, I'd love to learn how to play Stairway to Heaven.
Yes.
And he said, okay, well, listen, there's two ways you can learn the guitar. One is, where we can go through the keys and figure out the notes on the scales and figure out sort of how this whole thing relates to each other. Or I can just like teach you how to play Stairway to Heaven. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, option B, it would be great for me. I have zero. Why do you think I'm playing guitar in the first place? To learn more? It's not that. Like I'm playing guitar because it makes me feel a certain way. And if I can play more of this stuff easier, then great. Yes. And then there's this huge realization, and I think art in general, but definitely in music, that's like anyone who says that there's any rule about anything is wrong. And in fact, everything's based on rules that were broken by somebody else.
That's right.
Like Mozart, you can go all the way. There's so many different people throughout history that just said, well, I don't want to do it that way. Yeah. Like I was hearing about something yesterday about the Kinks, girl, you really got me now.
Yes.
The story goes that the lead dude from the Kinks, he got some bad news about a girlfriend or something, and he decided to kind of tear up his apartment. And he took a razor blade to this old amp that they used, and if you know that riff, it's you know that thing. Yeah, that was the first recorded time, apparently, of distorted guitar because he ripped his speaker open, and so the speaker was going. And it was the first, maybe not distortion, but fuzz. It was the first moment of fuzz that now, there's a million different pedals, plugins, things that emulate this,
emotional breakdown.
Yeah, exactly. the feeling of slicing a switch is so emotional. Wow. But yeah, and that's,
I have the chills. That's incredible.
And I think that's when I realized too, probably in my around when Maisie was born, and I started thinking about sort of this next phase of where I wanted to go, and it was like, oh, there's no ceiling to I don't ever figure it out. Yeah. I don't ever get a thing that goes like, you made the perfect record and you can and go rest. Like it's
sleep, child.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you feel that way too about, as a writer and performer, and you just like, I'm always going to be looking for some thing to keep pushing and,
and that's the little part of you. There's there's a executive in my creative cabinet that doesn't talk, but he's or she is very, very, very important. And what it is what I mean is like, I don't consciously go like, what will the hour look like? But there's a certain joy or flow that I'm chasing that I never really talk to it, but it's making cuts, and it's given me these very important, like, I bet you can really like slashing a thing. It's like, well, that thing that was a mistake was the best part of the joke.
Yes.
And I guess when people say like, oh, you're putting together a new hour, and it's like, yeah, it's almost like I'm putting it in front of this council.
It's fascinating.
And there's he doesn't talk, but he's the most powerful one. It's like Dr. Claw in Inspector. You never see him, but he's making huge choices. They often show up in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning. That's why I wasn't even going to ask you, because I was listening to your music, like I said, and it's very interesting. And I think that's one of the best. I hope you feel that.
I hope it is interesting too.
It's very interesting.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I don't a lot. I'm not saying you guys do pop music, but a lot of pop music, I'm just kind of like, we all felt that coming.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And your music is very surprising. I'm like, I didn't feel that coming. Why is there this like weird late in the song? I don't even know if you call it a bridge, but there's something happening here.
Yeah, totally.
And I was going to ask you, but then I was like, but I think I kind of know, because you just you're following this weird, like you're saying, this impulse to break a rule or have fun or be back going like, no power chord. I just want to learn Stairway and I just want to do it. You know what I'm saying? There's this like, yes.
Yeah.
That you get.
Yes.
And that's where that weird second bridge comes from.
Totally. And it was, listening to a lot of bands that I was way into too, that were breaking rules and were like, whoa, I didn't know you were allowed to do that.
Of course, me too.
And then once you see people doing stuff, you're like, oh, I'm allowed to do that? Cool. Right. Well, then I'm going to expand on that or take my own weird version and move it that way.
Right.
And then there's also something, we started so young that I'll listen back to some of these records and just be like, whoa, there was some cool, like, subconscious smart guy in there. Because I remember what I was like as a human then, and it was, like, not impressive.
Yeah. I am about to go on a little trip, and one of the things that I packed in my bag was little to-go packets of Armra colostrum. Why? Because I'm obsessed. Maybe you're like me. You're hearing everybody talking about colostrum. Well, Armra makes the absolute best immune boosting. Actually, immune boosting is really selling it short. It helps with fitness recovery. It helps with endurance. It helps with metabolism. It helps with your hair and your skin radiance. What is colostrum? It's the first nutrition we receive in life and contains all of the essential nutrients our bodies need to thrive. And me personally, having taken it for about a month now, every day, sometimes twice a day, I feel such a boost. I feel ready to go. I feel like it clears me out, cleans me out, and I haven't been getting sick. And a lot of people around me are getting sick, and I'm starting to get my family on it. We are boosting our immune, our hair, our nails, our metabolism with Armra, reactivating hair growth and glowing skin by reducing inflammation and puffiness in your face and neck, as well as stimulating stem cells to produce collagen and increase elasticity, igniting your metabolism and fortifying gut health, both at the same time, so you feel less bloated and lighter. I can attest to that, while replenishing your microbiome, stabilizing blood sugar, and accelerating fat burning, as well as fueling your fitness performance and your recovery. Armra colostrum is a proprietary concentrate of bovine colostrum that harnesses over 400 living bioactive nutrients that rebuild the barriers of your body and fuel cellular health for a host of research-backed benefits. It's wholly natural, sustainable, and was developed with the highest integrity, grass-fed in the U.S., and they guarantee the highest potency and bioavailability of any colostrum on the market for results that you can actually see and feel. And no joke, I am one of those people. I am a believer. Armra is absolutely a part of my daily routine now. Sometimes twice a day, like I said. We've worked out a special offer for weirdos. Get 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmra.com/weird or enter weird to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/weird. Do something good for your body. Support the show as well. Nice. We're also brought to us by our friends. I'm wearing the hat at LMNT. Element. Healthy hydration isn't just about water. You can't just be drinking water. You got to get water plus electrolytes. That is what you are sweating out during the day and getting that stuff in you. I'm talking about magnesium. I'm talking about potassium. I'm talking about sodium. Is the greatest biohack I have found to jumpstart your day and boom, give you a burst of energy and well-being that I have come to swear by. Most people just drink water. It is not doing it. That's like 1942 style. You need to get this element into your life. It's a huge part of my wellness program and a part of my morning that I actually look forward to, because it's not just water, it's delicious water. Element has some of the best flavors I've seen of any type of beverage, but it's also just boosting and supporting your body. I like watermelon salt flavor the best. I like their chocolate salt hot. I make that hot sometimes at night, and you are good to go. No sugar, no artificial junk, just electrolytes and great taste. You're flooding your system with sodium, potassium, and magnesium for health, performance, and energy. And I also find it has great brain benefits. Something about the neuroconnectivity and getting that in you feel a boost. Element came up with a fantastic offer for us. Go to drinklmnt.com/weird and use promo code weird to get a free Element sample pack with any order when you order. I love the sample pack because maybe you wouldn't have tried mango chili, But maybe it turns out you love mango chili. You wanted a spicy, hydrating drink. I didn't know I did, but I did because of that sample pack. So try one of the flavors, get all of the flavors. Go to drinklmnt.com/weird. If Element doesn't exceed your expectations, they have a no questions asked refund policy. You don't even have to send it back, so you got nothing to lose. Support your body, support the show. Go to drinklmnt.com/weird and get your free sample pack with any purchase. Drinklmnt.com/weird. All right, back to Andy. There was a clarity to that young
Something
time.
was connecting. And really, it comes back to the vulnerability side of it, too. I recognized I was feeling way more connected to this music if I was actually saying, warts and all, messiness and all, what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And even if that meant it didn't need to be poetic and was more raw.
Yeah.
And then people connected with that. It was like, I think people heard certain things I was, saying. It was like, oh, I didn't know you could like kind of say it that way,
Well, that's really interesting because when people make a late in life divergence into music, and I'm not thinking of anybody in particular, but like I'm thinking about somebody that's like, I'll try music. And I'm also thinking about me if I was like, I'll try to write a song in earnest.
Yeah.
I think what I would do, and I think it would be a mistake, is to try and write something incredibly clever.
Right.
Or perfect. Like
Correct.
I'm going to write that opening line that is just like, and then you look at so much great music and it is just someone saying something pretty plainly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just the context of how it's said. Absolutely.
How it's said and the sound and all that stuff. But we want to be like, Mr. Whiskers joined me at the bar or whatever. And you're just like, what the fuck is happening?
Well, the
like,
Randy Newman song that made me cry, the line said, it was like him at a tiny desk thing. It was like a little Instagram clip for 30 seconds that just, it was like, the universe was just like, punched me in the heart. It said, I'm not very smart and I know how I look. And the things that I've learned all come from a book. But out of all the humans around in this world, she chose me.
Jesus.
I was just like, well, shit, and
but
that's it.
What was the first line? I know I'm not smart.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
but that's
I know I'm not clever. Yeah, exactly. I know I'm not clever.
That's it.
And I know how I look.
Letting the voice, that little honest voice that's so embarrassing.
Yes.
Like I feel like acting, comedy, maybe music is getting over how embarrassing how you really feel is.
Yes. Yeah.
and
musically,
saying
you make it funny. And mine, at least, I can put some emotion and, some dramatic levity to it, that masks it a bit too.
Yeah, I can envy music sometimes in that way. But then, what I don't envy about music is that you guys are locked in. I like that you're protected by your band and the sound.
Yep.
So it makes sense to kind of, you have this incredible tool. People are stirred by these sound waves, and it creates this change. Like a certain beat is changing their physiology. What a great way to ease them into the message.
Yes.
And I don't have that. But what I have that music, and I'd love to hear your thought, I'm able to address how it's going while it's happening.
1,000%. I
mean, you can't.
And you're able to learn in real time through experience, which does happen, but in a different at a different time in the process. So like what happens with musicians generally is like you work on all this music, you work on this material, you're writing it, you get it as great as you can, you record it, you experiment as much as you can, you hope that thing is finished, you submit it, it is now no longer belongs to you, and then you go play this material live.
Yeah.
And then what happens, every musician could tell you, the song then takes on a secondary life that didn't exist before. And then that life cycle is sort of eternal, because that song will continue to weirdly evolve, even if you're trying to play it the same way every single night. Yeah. You look up 10 years later and that song's, for us, that song sounds nothing like, not nothing, but it's very different.
Of course.
There's things that, just develop.
You're making me realize maybe I've been ignorant of something in music. I'm like, you guys don't play it live first?
So here's the thing. Some people do. It is harder and harder now.
Because they don't want to hear it?
With phones. So what I'm doing, and you guys inspire me, like I said, I'm a stand-up comedy nerd, and really like, I love the comedy of it, but I really love reading and seeing about how it is done and how it's just, and it's so much failing forward that I'm like amazed at it. That's that's a vulnerability that is pretty insane. That's an open mic night for a singer going up and, and knowing this could go poorly. So actually, I have not announced this, and we're not going to announce. We're just going to do it for our fan club. So if they're listening, they'll know. But we booked out this room in Atlanta. We have a record. We're going to start recording this summer. We have a ton of songs. We booked out a club, 200 cap room for 2 nights, and we're going to go do like
this,
a workshop.
Wow.
And we were going to talk about it while we're performing it and be able to, because I'm sure, as you do know, with a joke, but like a song, man, when you play a song in front of someone, it's like listening to something you've done with someone that's also listening to it. Your brain just changes. You hear it differently. It's become a different thing. So many solutions. The guy you're talking about, that voice, he's just going like, oh, got it.
Yes, because the adrenaline and the relationship. Yeah.
So it's like, I know all those songs are going to be faster and louder than we will probably end up playing them.
Yeah.
But we have to see that.
Yeah.
Let's go. And we're going to record them and then use it as sort of like a pre-production tool.
So cool.
To try it.
No phones? Is it like a no phone?
I'm going to ask them not to.
Yeah.
But
you're not going to Chappelle it with the bags?
I don't have that kind of money. Things are like $12 a bag.
People key them open too.
I'm sure they do.
It's brutal.
I'm sure. So anyways,
that's really
long-winded, but yeah.
It wasn't long-winded. I think that's incredible because there is, I talk about breaking rules. When I heard that Bill Burr doesn't write, and he's like, I write from stage. And when I was starting my hero, I'll just say mine, but a lot of us, was like Seinfeld and these people that really wrote ahead of time. And then you have Bill Burr, and he's coming in and he's killing in this completely different way. And he's not writing it ahead of time. I'll never forget Kumail. We were watching a comedian, and he was like, this guy doesn't write his jokes down. And we were like, pfft. It was like that. And then we watched people doing it to great effect. And Bill was the one for me. And then I heard him talking about it. He's like, I need the audience there. And I'm 100% the same way for the same exact thing. And you are doing a lot of things you're doing. You might play it, you might do it faster.
Right.
Suddenly I'm yelling or I'm injecting this attitude that it turns out was how I felt. I've been using this example a lot, but I have a joke I'm working on about people that make you take your shoes off when you come in the house. And it's always bothered me. And that's all I really knew. And I wrote some things out. Yeah. There was some writing. But then when I went on stage, it became this whole give up. You're going to die.
As in the floors feel like just
filthy,
doesn't matter.
My hands are filthy.
Yeah.
Your fucking dog
Your
is
dad
filthy.
doesn't like you.
Give up. Your dad hates you.
That's great.
Just surrender.
I love that.
And then I realized on stage why I care so much about why I feel so strongly that I shouldn't take. I do. Of course I do.
Yeah.
But we don't in our house, and I'm not saying that's right. But then all these other things started coming out where it was like, when you go to a restaurant and you sit at a table that someone was just at and they wipe it with that disgusting rag, give up. The rag is in a bucket. Exactly. And now you're eating your drop piece of sandwich. But I never would have written that out. And they make this, I was just going to say my instrument, but I got that from Brian Regan.
It's true.
My instrument is them. And they make this weird, beautiful sound that tells me that they're not quite sure. And then I go... And then the fun is, no, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
And I doubled down. And now they're like, the word titillated is weird, but they're titillated that I'm going so hard. And that becomes the joke.
Yes.
Now they could still disagree with me, but the show is how hard. And of course, I learned that from Bill as well. It's like, whoa, you're just like, that becomes the show. Can I tell you something else?
Of course. Yeah.
That I love,
Please.
that I think you'll love? Whatever happens is the show. That's something I think is so...
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that good?
Yes, that's great.
Like we saw the National and Matt couldn't remember. It was like a weird kind of vocal lead in. It was like this weird time signature and he just didn't know when to come in.
Happens.
He did it 3 times. I love Matt. So this isn't disparaging him. He would love it. And then he just went, we're not doing it. Yeah. And everyone cheered.
We're going next. Yeah.
And it was... And what do I remember from that show? That!
Yep.
I don't remember the ones they played perfectly. I remember this great moment where someone, to use my language, loved himself enough to be like, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And we were like, we got to see that. That was so cool.
I agree.
Whatever happens is the show. Also, whatever happens is your life. It extends into your life.
Yes, that's right.
This is the life. This is our life.
That's right. Yeah, the live experience of that thing. I think also that a difference between comedy and music, there's a ton of similarities to it that's fascinating to me, or at least I am very inspired. And kind of, I can relate to a lot of the you got to open yourself up here and like show some stuff that's messy and and it might bring joy to people in a great way, you know, and that's a gift too, you know, to be able to do that. But there's also the two forms of like recorded music and live music. And that's, you know, that's the other difference, because sometimes the stuff you're going to do, like if you know you're going to just crush no matter what. I'm curious, do you know that? Are there things that you know, it's like, I got this thing in my holster that like, no matter where I am, this
Sometimes.
thing. Okay.
You ever have to poop so bad you pee second? I was like, I don't care how bad the crowd is, they're going to like that one. And that was, I miss it.
That's great.
I miss it so bad.
That's great.
Because I'd be at a hell gig and I'd be bombing.
My brain is just, I can see why. Because people are thinking about it. It's like, you immediately go there.
But then to really answer your question, because that's so rare to have a truly bulletproof line. Uh-huh. But like more often I'll go, okay, here's the bit that I feel that way about right now is Q-tips. I have this joke about you're not supposed to put Q-tips in your ear, but we all do. And I'm at a club this past week, and I'm like, here comes Q-tips. Like, you fucking guys
you don't even know.
And something went wrong. The bit still killed. Mm-hmm. It would be better if it didn't kill. It just didn't kill quite right. And it was because I said a couple things up top. I talk to the audience, and I go, you put Q-tips in your ear? I knew you were cool. And there was a guy who quit drinking, and he was telling me about how he quit drinking. And I was like, yeah, because we got quit Q-tips. And something about them thinking about this guy's sobriety distracted them enough. Huh. And then we started, like Matt, we started the song with on the wrong note, on the wrong beat. And now I'm doing the bit, but I'm also kind of like, oh, it's not bulletproof.
Wow.
But then then you adjust a little bit.
Sure.
You have
on
to
the fly. You have to
try to find a way to start over.
Absolutely.
In a micro moment.
It's like burping during the middle of an epic, moment where you're about to belt. It's just like, what do I do?
Has that happened?
Oh, yeah. You're just like, what am I going to do? And you can feel it. You're singing, actively singing, thinking, I'm about to burp. Oh, no.
The big moment.
It's that. And I guarantee you this is something a lot of people, and you don't really know because people can't hear it. It's not like it's the solo moment. I just step away. But no, but it's like it'd be the big chorus. It's like, oh no.
I was gonna say this to you earlier. The times I've played a song on stage, sometimes with Val, sometimes rarely by myself, but in college by myself. But anyway, my hands are shaking.
Sure.
Like I feel the way, I don't know how you feel about comedy, but people often are like, I couldn't do that. I feel that way. It's so, they know if you played it wrong. I don't want to make you paranoid.
No, you don't think I think about this already?
But
no, of course.
They'll know. They're like, we know. With comedy, I revel in the freedom of being like, they don't know. And if I fuck up, I'll be like, I have save lines.
Right.
I have a moment where this guy was like, and then, or maybe you don't even do the bit. But if you start playing the opening chord of a great song and everyone's excited and you kind of fuck it up.
Oh, and done it a million times, I've forgotten every lyric, forever. But that's really what's really fun about.
I've forgotten every lyric forever.
Forever, yeah, it's just gone. Because if you think about a lyric, this probably happens to you. If you think about what's coming next, then it's gone.
It's not the words.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a song.
Yes,
and that's why we like calling them bits. It's not a joke, and it's not the words. You're doing a bit. You're trying to get it. I say this all the time, but Bono said, I can't hit the note unless I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
And I can't do the joke unless I'm remembering. Some I can, but like if it's a big piece, I have to get back in that emotional place.
Right.
And then you're saying the words. But the bad shows are when you're like, what do I say?
Yeah, absolutely. How's this go? Instead of, feeling it and it coming out. Yeah, and that's fascinating.
Time traveling, I wonder if you relate to the guy who wrote it. or like the first time you played it or whatever it might be?
Oh yeah, especially because they're so, with songs too, and I've written personally since I was 18, and there's still songs that we play that are from, like 2006 that I love, and they've evolved and they sound different and they suit sort of what we are now. But, like a song about my wife, that I wrote when I was 18 and I'm 37, and I'm sitting there 3 weeks into a tour and it's a gorgeous theater and thinking like, man, I still love her. And these people are singing along this thing, and like, what a insane. The opening track on our record after Maisie was born is called "The Maze," and I wrote that song.
That song today.
That was 2 weeks after she was born, and the concept of that song is the first 3 verses are her as a 2-week-old looking up at me and talking to me, and then the last 3 are me talking back to her.
Wow.
And that one, if I'm feeling, and people love that song, it connects because people understand that feeling. If they don't have kids, it's like you can feel the love in it, I think, If it wasn't so earnest and real, it would almost be cheesy. It's like, it's sort of like, it's just that.
Earnestness is the canoe that takes us over the cheese river, man. It'll get you there safely if you mean it.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me to another question, because we love the Avett Brothers song, "The Ballad of Love and Hate." I don't know if you know that song.
Yeah, I love the Avett Brothers.
And I love playing that song.
I love that song. It's a great song.
And sometimes Val and I will sing it.
That's where they're the characters, like Love does this thing. It's so, oh my God.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah. How about No Hard Feelings by the Avett Brothers?
Don't talk about it.
That's an impossible song to like
Don't talk about it.
We covered that song because it was so deeply stuck inside of my soul.
Don't talk about it.
Fair.
No.
Fair.
I'm joking because I'm saying you'll make me cry.
No, it's true.
But I don't mind. But my question was, I can't play that song without crying to the point where I can't sing.
Yes.
And then I'm like, well, I'm glad I'm singing this with Val.
Tracking that song, The Maze, I could not. And it's kind of stinks because eventually you just have to, like, you do something enough, and it's just, now I'm desensitized to it enough so to where it's not feeling as unbelievably raw. But then when I am, because you can't, here's something fascinating, I don't know if you know this, you can't sing while crying.
Yes,
it's a very romantic idea.
Right.
But you can't actually do it. You sound really, really bad doing it. I've played funerals before, and it's really, my dad gave me this great advice too. It was just like, there's certain moments in life where you have to do things like a funeral or these things. He's like, you'll be able to do it. Like the performance thing takes over. And I've had things where my eyes are crying,
but your voice
but the things that the rest of me is not, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what'll happen with Maisie, and most of the dudes in my band are dads as well. And so, if we're like playing that song, dude, 3 weeks in, all missing the kids, turn around at each other, it's like, all right, well,
Wow.
But I'm grateful for that, because that's the real like emotion and feeling, and connection, throwing real love out there.
Well, that's what Jack Johnson said on this podcast, and I think he had it in a song where he goes, if you want them to feel it, you have to feel it first. So that's a great indication that the crowd was like,
right.
I have such an interesting relationship with music. I'm in a very pro music place right now. But sometimes,
tell me,
it's so much.
There's a lot of music.
I don't mean that. There's that. I actually mean, like, the song "Traitor." You didn't cheat, but you're still a traitor. Val loves this song.
Okay, no.
It's about a guy. It's a woman. Everybody's gonna laugh. I'm a 44-year-old guy describing this. Do you know it, Mark? Yeah. So
who is it?
Olivia Rodrigo.
Then yes,
Rodrigo.
I do, because my daughter loves Olivia Rodrigo. So I'm sure I've heard this song.
Wife,
I'm sure I have. Yeah.
loves this song.
I like Olivia Rodrigo. I think there's like, she's punk rock. It's cool.
All I know is this song.
Okay.
So I have no opinion. I have no hot take.
She's cool.
Other than, okay, so take a song like that. You put it on. Talk about like the butterfly brain, and now I'm thinking about like betrayal and like heartbreak, and it's beautiful.
Right.
But when I say it's so much, "Freedom" by Beyonce, is it called "Freedom"?
It is.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, yes, and sometimes I'm like, I
can't
It's
listen to
so much. It's like getting hit by an avalanche or something.
It's just like any, they're bite sized. So, but it's like putting on, I'm blanking on any of the thousands of incredible deep movies, but it's is it?
It's a 3-minute Dead Poets Society.
Yeah, and am I ready for that?
Yes,
and sometimes it's a 2-minute requiem for a dream, and you're like, I don't need this trauma in my life right now.
For real, and I've been cheated on, and I'm listening to this song, and I'm like, but it's also beautiful, and I love it. Here's what I'll say: My favorite Pete is the Pete that's available for that, but it takes a certain type of energy. And going back to what we were saying earlier, one of the things that I'm getting from being a little bit more deliberate with my time is that I have more energy. And we think of energy as this thing that you're like, well, then I'll have pep in my step. And sometimes I have a lot of energy, but I am sitting down at the park. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily energy.
Agreed.
But there's a type of energy. It takes energy to access gratitude. It takes energy to be vulnerable to allow someone else to move you. And that energy is kind of not talked about as much.
Agreed.
We think energy is like, I'm going for a run. I just love having the energy to share it with somebody and be vulnerable enough to let them stir me up.
Yeah.
That's an energy.
It is.
That's energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's why music is pretty fascinating to me, in that you can choose. It can just have such an effect on you in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you want to listen to, the Sex Pistols, and sometimes you want to listen to Nick Drake, and those two things can take you to two completely different places.
Yes.
And so I try and at least allow the song to sort of. You think this way about ideas and bits that come to you. It's like, I don't know how much I was involved with that, but that seems like it just kind of showed up here.
Oh yeah.
So let's serve the song. Let's serve like the material and see where it takes us.
Yeah.
Never wanting to. I've never thought like, I hope I can really manipulate the audience by making them feel this way by using my love for my daughter. It's more like
nailed it.
I'm lucky that the way that I process and journal, has a good tune to it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, me too. I'm glad the way that I journal is funny.
Right.
Yeah. Of course, this episode is brought to us by our friends. I say of course, because I'm always wearing and always talking about the perfect jean. The best looking, best made, highest quality, and the best feeling and best fitting jeans or pants I've ever owned in my life. Of course, I'm wearing them right now because I wear them every single day. They have all different kinds of washes. They have all different kinds of cuts. They're incredibly, incredibly well made. The highest craftsmanship. I've worn them on red carpets. I've worn them on late night shows. I've also taken naps in them because that's how comfortable they are. They have a little bit of rayon, a little bit of spandex in there to give you some stretch so your nuts ain't crushed. Meaning you can look good and also feel good. The perfect jean has you covered. Liberate your lower limbs with the one and only perfect jean. If you got a 3-leaf clover, a big old honking eggplant down there, it doesn't matter. Give it some room. Be kind to your body. And wear pants that are comfortable enough to do yoga in, but you can also go on a beautiful date or even a business meeting in them. I absolutely love these pants. It's a great way to support the show. Who listening doesn't wear jeans? So try some perfect jeans or give perfect jeans to someone you love. We have a great offer. You can get 15% off by going to The Perfect Jean, Jean. Don't go to Gene. That's a science website, I'm sure. theperfectjean.nyc. That's theperfectjean.nyc and use code WEIRDO15 for 20% off at checkout. I use this promo code all the time because they have khaki wash, they have light wash, they have skinny, they have whatever. They have it all. Get some pants. Support your body. Support your lower limbs. Support the show. We're also brought to us by our friends. No surprise here. I also have this. All the Pete's Picks I use and love. This is Magic Mind. You hear me talking about it on the show all the time. I'm trying to give it to my guests. Why? Because Magic Mind isn't just an energy drink. It's a productivity drink. It is nootropics, which is like vitamins for your brain, earth-grown stuff. It's matcha, which is about as much caffeine as half a cup of coffee. And it is adaptogens, like ashwagandha, that help you calm down. So it puts you in that peak state, elevated, but also relaxed, dialed in. Athletes have Gatorade. Now creators have Creatorade. Magic Mind, it's also in my carry-on. I'm about to go on a trip. I never miss a day. The more you use it, the more it builds, the more you feel those results. I find it to be hugely mood elevating. I find it to be the perfect state to get some work done. I also sometimes just take it when I'm hanging out with my friends because I want to have energy and I want to have clarity. It isn't jittery. It is dialed in. So try it. I swear it is a life changer. Go to magicmind.co/weird and use my discount code WEIRD at checkout for a limited 20% off your first order. That's magicmind.co/weird and promo code WEIRD. All right, everybody, back to Andy. You just made between the 10-year mark and the first 10 years of stand-up and the second 10 years of stand-up. First 10 years of stand-up is how can I manipulate them? You wouldn't use that word.
Sure.
But how can I make these people laugh? and you're looking at something and you're like, will it work? Mm-hmm. And then the second 10 is like, what? This is going to sound highfalutin, but you open the door.
I like it.
I'm going to follow you. What joke would like to come through this? I've made a thing. What comes through that? Mm-hmm. That's right.
Right.
And also makes them laugh, but is how I feel.
Yes.
And I don't know. There's just different. When I was starting, one of my earliest jokes, what's the employee discount at the dollar store? That's a great observation. That's great. That's fine. And now there's jokes like that, like you ever have to poop so bad you pee second, but they're just kind of like little resets in the act.
Right.
But in the first 10, I'm just writing jokes going like, pretty sure I can surprise you and make you laugh with a line like that. And now it's more about like unearthing and mining something.
And do you feel more
thicker.
Fulfilled?
I feel so
following.
much more fulfilled.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have kept doing it if it was just what's the employee discount at the dollar store. That's not a That's not golf, like a game you can play your whole life. That's,
I had a moment.
You can't play your whole life.
I had a moment, and this is going to get very heavy for 2 seconds, but there was a shift for me, and I guess it was probably the 8 to 10 year of doing it. So I started when I was really young, like 18, going out on tour. So I'm like 24, 25, and I think I had just like sort of become, I bought it a little bit. I was like,
At 24, I mean, I
can't
or just kind
of, yeah, exactly.
Thank
you. I'm glad you said that. Thank you. I was like, oh no, of course. But then that was unfulfilling, and I started to just kind of be angry. And after performances, it was like I would just let things that didn't matter at all ruin a show for me, and I lost my compass on
your higher why.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we had a moment, and we had agreed and had an email about someone who was terminally ill, a young woman, and months earlier. And can she come out to meet the band at the show? And it's like, of course, that's but then you forget about it, and we wake up on the bus, and we're in Dallas, and it's like, today's the day, that this Anna is going to come out, and we're like, oh man. So of course there's this thickness around it, and really beautiful night. She literally went from her prom to the stage, wheeled her up on stage, and sang this song that she'd been listening to during chemo. Whole band is like after the show is on the floor. It was like the heaviest sort of dialed in moment, and take pictures with her and give her every single piece of merch and get phone numbers and make plans for Lollapalooza that we're playing later that summer. And we finished our on our tour, and I got a text message from her father the second to last night of the tour, and he said, I'm so sorry to reach out to you this way, but she's passed away. Is there any way that we can send a plane for you after your tour, and can you fly here and play like her memorial service at her grandparents' house? And I was like, oh my gosh. And that was actually goes back to the thing my dad told me, where I was like, I don't know if I can do that. He's like, no, you can do that. You'll get there and like figure that out. So go, and these now have become dear friends, see them 3-4 times a year. The Basso family's like family, spent like Thanksgivings and all this stuff. They've like become this thing, and went and did this. And it was on the flight home after playing that and going home. And I remember going home to my wife and just saying like, it all became very clear to me that actually I needed to start looking like at this as being in some type of service industry.
Yeah.
This is a bit of medicine here. Yeah. I know what I am. I'm a punk ass 25-year-old in a rock band. What I was just able to be there for these people in this time, what a weird, awesome, beautiful connection that I could serve that purpose for these people.
Yes.
And that shifted for me, like, I'm not going to do this music thing anymore, to like, or at least because like to full circle, when you're 18, of course you think this idea of like, I'm going to be a rock star, dude. Like I'm going to, I'll be on late night TV and my friends are going to see it and they're going to know, that I'm like, and then all of that like starts to go away. And it was like, oh no, I like need to chase down the vulnerability and the openness, and like, let's keep these radio waves open for people to intercept them if they so choose, kind of thing.
That is just the whole thing, isn't it? That like, it's actually irrelevant what you got into it to do this. I'm not saying that's let's
totally.
Make it cleaner and say you got into it like any 18-year-old to be a rock star. Yeah. And that's going to be awesome. You're going to be on a private jet. There's going to be sushi.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You'll be backstage and there's I don't know, there's Morrissey, and he tells you that you're the greatest.
Exactly. Yes.
And
Yeah.
you're
You're now.
You're me now. You're me now. And,
You're me now.
but what
I do love walking around my house just going, and heaven is a miserable now. You know, like, it's just so, you know, I was looking for a job and I found a job. It's just so dramatic.
If you can.
It's the best.
Oh, God, that's awesome. I'm so glad. That reminds me, I asked Kyrie Irving when I interviewed him for the Pete Holmes show, I was like, do you ever just slam dunk if you're in a
That's
bad
a
mood?
great question.
You ever just jump and slam dunk?
I would.
And he was like, no. And I was like, I would.
I totally would.
Just do it.
Just do it.
I bet he does.
That's
I don't even
so
think he
funny.
said no. But what I think is really one of the keys to the whole thing is, let's say you got into that for those moments and for yourself, and then your intention was irrelevant.
Correct.
The universe had its own intention.
Yes.
And the whole corporate nature, I mean, corporeal, like all of us together, was like, no, you thought it was that, but we're actually making something that can heal us.
And you can kind of take that, in music at least, to a micro level, to a performance where it doesn't actually matter what my opinion of that show was.
Oh my God, you're in my
Which is
lane now.
fascinating, you know, because it's like, and that was a trick I had to learn too. It was like,
Your experience of the show is not the show.
it actually doesn't matter
It doesn't matter at all.
at all.
Nope.
So
You have
people
just,
are like, "Do you like the show? Do you have a good time?" It's like, it doesn't
doesn't
If
matter.
they did, like, if it went well, it really doesn't matter.
You're reminding me of Ben Gibbard on this show said, if I write a song about I don't know if he said divorce, but let's say breakup, and someone says to me, I love that song you wrote about the Titanic, he just goes, thank you. Isn't that a great little...
I love that. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Because the ego goes, no, that's about my breakup. And he goes, if it's about the Titanic to you, Leo.
It's 100%. And like, you know, I'm a realist enough too, where people have said what they thought something's about, and I'm like, oh, it's way better. Sure. Why would I ever tell you what anything's about?
I had someone, this has been coming up a lot lately. There weren't a lot of YouTube commentaries on Crashing, but somebody made one, and they were mapping out how the show was a perfect hero's journey.
Oh,
and
amazing.
I watched it.
I love that show.
And there, what's that?
I love
oh,
that show.
Thank you very much. And I'll say, and no surprise to you, that was not my intention, even though I love all that stuff.
Yes.
But he was mapping, he knew it better than I did. And he was like, and this is called the Jewel of Persephone. And that's what Dan Natterman was. And I'm like,
God, I really am smart, aren't I?
no, I had more of a like, let's not tell him.
Right, yeah.
Because this
He can never know.
looks really cool that I did that.
That's amazing.
But I didn't. That was better than what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
That's really, really
It's
cool.
kind of art as well, you know? It's like, it's going to be perceived a certain way, and it's a little
Right.
miracle.
And it's for them. But like I got lost. I lost myself a little bit. And it still happens where I get off stage and the report is, and I've said this a million, but I'm putting it back to you. Val watches me. She's like, that was one of the best shows I've ever seen you do. And I'm like, this didn't work. I need to cut that. It was too hot. The lights were too bright. I couldn't see them. And like the healthy voice of, and now it's Val. Val's installed herself in my mind. And I just have like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Dude, like, shut up.
Yeah.
Because then, like, I did a show talking about New Year's. I've talked about this weekend a lot. It was in Tempe, Arizona. It was one of the best weekends of the tour. And the Friday before New Year's were two of the best shows of our lives. Both
Amazing.
me and my opener, Matt. We loved it so much. And then Saturday was New Year's, and it was fine, but it wasn't sold out. And we were doing these jokes that were, like, literally getting applause, and, like, and they're working.
Yeah.
But they're not working that well. So I'm a little, well, you'd rather end the weekend on
Yes.
the high.
Yeah,
but again,
yeah.
that's selfish. You're
Yeah.
like, because I'm trying to get high.
Yeah.
And then I did, because it was the last show, I ended up doing like an impromptu little meet and greet. I wasn't planning on it, but it's New Year's Eve.
Hey.
I'm in the lobby. I saw some people. I started talking to them. We're done. This is a great time to do it.
Yeah.
I used to do it in between shows. It takes too much energy, but now
Yes.
it's happening. And now there's a little line. And people are telling me how much it meant to them and how much they loved it, and I've never laughed that hard or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know.
Yeah.
This is what Matt and I, on this whole tour, have been going like, our experience of it, it's almost like being parents. We take our kids to the zoo. I had to take a dump.
Yeah.
Didn't
It's
matter. Leela saw a flamingo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Get fucking over yourself.
Yes.
And when it sounds, to say highfalutin again, to call ourselves, I like to think of it as a ministry, or not a religious ministry, but ministering to people, healing people. All of this like language that's embarrassing that somebody could clip and be like, look at how stand-ups take themselves too seriously. I'll give you that. But here's why. Yeah. Because it's the engine of my joy, and it's the engine that keeps me going, and it's the engine that keeps me connected and making a certain kind of material. If I think of myself as someone who might help, and if you think I'm making that up, the emails I'm sure you get, you just told that story about that girl. What's her name?
Anna. Yeah, Anna, the Basso family.
Yeah, Anna Basso. I get it. Can't it be both? We're narcissists and full of shit. Sure. Sometimes, and it means a lot to people, and it's beautiful to lean into our higher virtues.
Sure.
I'm trying to get over the embarrassment, not just in my creative life, but in my whole life. Things like courage, being proud of myself.
Yeah, because what you said is interesting.
Those are good things.
After stage, we give ourselves, if there's somebody has a bad show, because the thing you also don't have is like, yes, you have your partner, but that your partner's not next to you on stage experiencing the thing, right? And so with the band, there will be a bad show. Something's going to go wrong for somebody. It might be a really miserable, and it's an uphill climb when you're doing 90 minutes and something's just not working. And you can't do anything about it because we got to keep playing.
You take your thing out?
We don't even use those,
Yeah, but doesn't that mean something's wrong?
Always, that's the key. And then someone's yelling at somebody. It's also
Michael Jackson.
Terrible move.
Have you seen all the clips of Michael Jackson yelling at his, not yelling, but he works it into the song?
I was just working with this
What are you going to do, Jim?
Yeah, exactly. You're fired. He fires him, doesn't he?
I'm going to fire you, Jim.
I'm going to fire you,
He's working it into the song. Jim, this is the last straw. It's Billie Jean.
That's so
Did
funny.
Jim just get fired to Billie Jean?
Never a good look.
Nope.
But the best way to get fired if you're going to,
Yeah, but every wedding,
true.
his firing song
every
comes
day,
on and everyone cheers.
Yeah, great song.
It is a great song. Have you ever? That was one that he. Scandal noted, I just want to say that, but like that he felt was channeled. They asked him about where that song came from, and he was like, I was just walking around the house, and it was like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And you're like,
oh, you can hear the demos of it. It's crazy.
You can hear the what?
There's demos of it on YouTube. You can find of him doing basically because he
didn't play
any instruments.
Yes.
And so what he would do is like take a 4-track or whatever and record. So you're like, here's the bass, boom, 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 and then loop it over, and then and he's gonna have this, and then this is gonna be the guitar's gonna go chicka cha chicka cha, like he did it all.
Get the shit.
Seriously. Yeah, it's crazy.
That stuff is.
Totally insane.
Clean antenna.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Wild. So you were saying though, things go bad. You take your thing out.
Well, post show, I do think it's important to give yourself a moment to be a baby for a minute, because if you don't have a good show, like I don't want anybody. I've frustrated plenty of bandmates over the years too by being too positive too early, because sometimes you just need 2 to 5 minutes to just be like, and they kept talking and this motherfucker, and that thing. But then
I appreciate this.
Let's all high five, hug. This is our job. Yeah. What a thing.
You have to have that dump.
You have to.
Every writer's room I've ever been in starts before you start writing or like talking about the show. There's a good 20 minutes of just like who's going through a breakup, who's mad, who's getting their apartment flooded or whatever it is. You just have to let it all out. And one of the most precious and sacred relationships, and Val and I have it. Val's not a person that goes like, shut up, dummy. She's there for it. She's fine with me complaining. But Matt McCarthy, who I tour with, it's a sacred thing when we go in and we just go like, how drunk was that table? They got kicked out 10 minutes in. Who the fuck did they think they were going to see?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? And we have to do it.
Yep.
So this reminds me of the conversation about our kids. It's like we have to parent ourselves and have that moment of repair.
Oh, yeah.
And be like, and this is very Val too, it's like, that was hard on you. Like, as much as I want to green light my ability to say I'm proud of myself or I was courageous or I was brave, I also go like, you were scared.
Yes.
That guy, that big, thick-fingered motherfucker in the front row made you feel a little scared when you started doing that joke about thick-fingered motherfuckers. And you're like, yikes. Then you just see a big, meaty fist. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about being like attacked or anything, but like,
No, I've had the
I get
moment
scared
where I
so-
had to
so
like
easily.
The first time we sold out this awesome venue in Texas called Stubbs. You've been to Stubbs, big outdoor amphitheater in Austin. It's
No.
awesome. It's super legendary. Saw like cool shows there when I was a
Is
kid
it
playing
owned by
South by Southwest.
A big guy named Stubbs.
It's a barbecue company. You've seen the Stubbs
Oh, okay,
barbecue
yeah,
sauce
yeah,
before.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, so it's whatever. It's fun spot. Sold it out. Big kind of career. Like took us, 13, 14 years to get to sell out Stubbs.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
one
yeah.
of those nights and a couple thousand people out there. And I look back and at the back, you can see everybody at Stubbs. And I just see like 3 or 4 people, leaving. Still 30 minutes left in the show. And then I just only thought about that for the next 15, 20 minutes of just like, man, I bet they're all going to like start heading that way, aren't they? And
Power of 2-3 people.
I'm missing I can't find the forest for the trees. Like,
Yeah.
no, you're living a dream right now. Like, this is a great thing, but I'm thinking about,
Of course.
well, what did I do?
One sour face. I just did a
Yes.
show and I'm doing this new joke about God and it's always vulnerable to talk about God.
Yeah.
And my well-meaning friend Chris, we were driving home and he was like, 2 people walked out during your God joke. And then his wife was like, you don't know. They could have had a babysitter. They could have had diarrhea.
Yes,
Like,
you don't know.
They had plans. And he was like, no, it really looked like they were walking out. And I was like, why are you even saying this?
Why are you
Sometimes,
here?
again, my friend Jamie, another well-meaning, beautiful person. I love Jamie. I love Chris. Jamie came up to me and he was like, I heard David Cross and Mark Maron talking shit about you. And I'm like,
Oh
why
my God.
are you?
Oh my God.
Why? Why? You know what you just did? You put a quarter in the jukebox of my mind. And for the next week, I'm going to be like, kind of having a conversation with them in my mind.
Can
And
I
be
tell
like,
you someone
what's
that
wrong? What's up with us?
My mom did this to me last year. Every year we play a really big festival at this awesome venue in Atlanta called the Fox. It's like where we went and saw the Nutcracker when we were kids, So it's a cool kind of end of the year thing. We do a couple shows leading into it. Woke up in the morning. I'm at the Fox, 11 a.m., about to do a little workout. Call mom to make sure she's got the parking passes ready. It's the biggest night of the year in our band. It's big. Hometown. She goes, you sounds like you lost your voice.
Thanks.
I'm like,
Thanks,
you
Mom.
know me.
Thanks, Mom.
You know everything about me.
That's how I felt with
How's
Chris.
that? Yes,
I was
like how
you know
I
feel
what
like
that
I'm
does to me.
risking it all.
You know what that does to me,
And you know
Absolutely.
I can obsess. I'll be like,
Yes.
wait, is it too much? And then like when they walked out, and I was like, but that's before the really fierce part. Like,
Right,
so
right.
they found the first part to be fierce?
So do I need to yeah?
Oh God,
So
that
funny.
is-
At least I was able to say to her, I was like, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah.
It's like you know me, right? It's also 11 a.m. Give me
Yeah.
a chance to warm up, Mom.
Yeah. Do you have any? I don't lose my voice as much as I do because honestly, I'm older and I write fewer bits that require
Screaming.
that register,
Yeah.
that level. I used to have a bit where I'd go, you could write out the sheet music and it would be, you would cry like that high. Cry. I can barely do it now. And that was how the bit went.
Yeah.
And I would lose my voice constantly.
I was very lucky just to not lose it a lot for a while. Like,
Nice.
so just kind of got by smoking cigs, drinking,
Really?
just like it was rough, but it never went away.
Yeah.
And then, I got older and like, the first show where I just didn't have any of it. And it was like, oh, I should probably like investigate some proper warm ups, like all
You
of the
started doing that.
professionals,
We were just talking
and,
about that,
it changed everything.
In
man.
Some Kind of Monster, where James Hetfield is in the stairwell, me.
Yeah.
I just referenced that on like the last.
I love that
episode.
documentary. It's crazy.
I do too. The humility of letting other people write the songs and all that stuff.
Yeah, and they just let it be, which is so cool.
And the moment that
Vulnerable.
also stands out from that doc is, it's he kind of accidentally, he's singing a song. He's like ba 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 ba, but then he goes, "If I could have my wasted days back," and then they're like, "Do the whole song like that."
Oh,
like,
right.
Do it with that
Yes,
like
they
staccato
captured
thing.
the little moment.
And then that is the, but they got it.
Yeah.
So he was probably like, "If I could get my way," and I was like, "Wow, you actually got something."
A little moment like that, yeah.
That happens in the Avett Brothers documentary.
I was about to
too.
say that the fact that they got that actual take.
Yeah, was awesome.
It's very.
Oh, you mean No Hard Feelings?
Yeah.
I'm talking about if I were a painter. Or something.
Right.
And they
unlock a little
Seth
magic.
says to Scott something. He's like, you should swap that and do this and or he starts improvising and he just sings a verse of his brother's song in the same, and you're like, Jesus.
I know.
This is so fun.
It's not fair. Two of them.
I know.
Both just superb.
And handsome. And great. Do you know them?
And kind.
They're so sweet.
Yeah.
I just...
No, you know what? They deserve it. Yeah, they do.
They do.
They do.
And a great painter.
Us? No.
Not us. Not us. Scott's a great painter.
Is he
Have you
really?
seen his paintings?
No, that's awesome.
So funny, Avett Brothers. I don't think he'd care. I walk into his studio to do the podcast with him in North Carolina, and his studio is filled with paintings, and like some of them are nudes.
Amazing.
So it's kind of funny that you're just like, all right, that's you.
Self-portraits. Good to know.
I didn't know to be nervous. I salute you,
I
sir.
wasn't intimidated for a long time. Now I am.
I've never felt so less than. And then we sit down to chat.
That's so good.
There's also a moment in that, as a musician, maybe you'll appreciate. We're talking about No Hard Feelings. And I think Scott sings it. Is that right?
I think
Seth sings?
Seth's longer hair, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So he sings it.
Seth sings it, yeah.
And there's something like Scott wrote it for Seth.
Well, I think, well, the documentary, the way they framed it's funny you mentioned this because I just looked this whole scene up because it's as a musician, it's an interesting scene. It's a pretty raw, because essentially they had it seems, can't speak for them, they had a pretty heavy transcendent moment after dealing with a bunch of relational stuff. And, and so they're singing this song that is essentially like, it is one of the most beautiful, if you've not heard the song, No Hard Feelings by the Avett Brothers. It's really one of like the greatest songs ever written.
I agree.
And it's essentially saying, I am making an active decision that after all of this stuff, and we can count and list all the things in life that matter and hold this material value, but we are, my goal is that at the very end of this thing that I'm not going to have any hard feelings towards anyone. I have no enemies. It's the same.
That's the whole
repeat
purpose of life.
And then Rick Rubin walks in and goes, all right, what are we doing next? And the two dudes are like, motherfucker, what?
Yeah, we need a
They
minute.
just stood up and walked out and then kind of just started being like, what the hell's he thinking? Like, And I was like, dude, it actually made me feel good that it did happen to somebody like Rick Rubin because you only see him just swishing all the time, like he finally did one thing.
Yes.
But then I went and listened to him talking about it. It's pretty awesome. Like
Rick?
Yeah. His whole take was, I'm amazed by everything that's it's so insane. He's like, but when I finish a take, I'm not like popping champagne. I'm like, wow, cool. We're on a ride here. What's next?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. We just went through full trauma in 4.5 beautiful minutes. Give us a breather.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Making art in that kind of lab is it can be very tense,
Totally. But the camera guy does follow them out too, which I think is funny.
Yes, exactly.
Not funny. Not like anyone's being phony, but I'm like, they needed a moment. And there was a guy. There was a guy right there going like, getting this private
Maybe
moment.
they're used to him,
You do. I think you can get used to it. But on the pod, I asked, if Seth sings it, and he was like, but Scott was going to sing it. I was like, would you do it? I took a real chance.
Whoa.
I go, would you play it now, but Scott sings it? And they did not. But imagine if they had.
Hey, you have to shoot your shot.
Every once in a while.
You have to. You never know.
I also remember when I said, do you guys want to play a song? Seth looked like he was not in the mood to play a song.
Oh, yeah.
But he
did.
Did
you
it.
not ask him beforehand? You just had a guitar. Yeah, that's.
But we were in their studio.
I love that. Yeah,
true.
true.
Like, do you want to play? And they were like, and Seth, Seth, I love you. Just
That's
one
so
moment,
great.
he was just kind of like, in the same way that if you were like, would you do a bit?
Do you mind doing a quick bit on my voicemail real quick? Do you mind doing my voicemail?
That would you do my outgoing message?
Yeah, that's that sort of request, isn't it? Yeah, it's okay. And Seth, I totally understand.
I was, but you know what? They played a song and it was amazing. And talk about the audience. Mm-hmm. That was my job, was to be the schmuck that goes, will you play a song?
Yeah.
And eat a little shit.
And they crushed it.
Of course, it was awesome.
That's the best part about music. If you can get over the, even if if I'm playing a picnic that no one's watching, recently played a friend's like wakeboarding 10-year anniversary as a favorite.
We do wakes, we do wakeboarding. We'll do it all. From wakes to wakeboarding.
And I played, a quick set, just like a favor for my friend I've known for a long time. And no one watched. It was just like, but the cool thing is, like, I still like this song. I can close my eyes and perform this song.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That goes back to what I envy.
Right. Yes.
I can't do
the
the
locked
bit.
in. You can just.
Hey, it's so desperate. You have to get them listening.
Yeah.
There's a show. It's Seinfeld. I'm going to do some bets. This guy with the dip. Why do they call it a dip? It's the only food named after what you do to it. They don't call a steak a chomp, but dip is dip. Wide. Everyone's just slack-jawed and aghast. Dip! He's screaming.
Yeah, you don't have
Dip!
You would have to scream louder. You don't have an electric guitar option. No. I did a tour opening for Brandy Carlisle like 10 plus years ago, and I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to play acoustic guitar, and like, people are really going to be impressed with how like soft and amazing, these songs can be. And just people just thousands of people just talking over me. And about after show 10, I went to Brandy. I was like, "Can I borrow your electric guitar?" And she let me and play her amp. And for the rest of the tour, it was great. It's like, because I could get above this noise volume of,
Yeah. And comics, just to relate, a lot of the best clubs have the best sound.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
If you feel, and the monitors, if I can really hear myself, then I yell less. Because sometimes I'm yelling because I can't hear me, but they can hear me so well. Yeah. And they're like, "Why are you yelling, bro?" It's like, because I can't hear myself.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's weird.
I've never considered that, but why wouldn't I? We love venues with great sound too.
I got to have that good sound.
Wow.
So let's not be remiss and not talk about. So you were raised by a pastor who is the son of a pastor.
That's right.
So you're the pastor's kid of a pastor's kid.
I am. Yes, two very different types of pastors. The grandfather was like Big Tent Revival.
No, really?
Yeah. It was he passed probably 6-7 years ago, and played like a greatest hits of his pastoring moments,
like the sermon. Okay.
During the funeral. It was insane. It was just like, "You're going to hell. You're going to hell."
No.
Which is not at all the way my father was at all. But it's like it was.
Was he really screaming, "You're going to hell"?
That's it was
kind of like
it was screaming.
What's his name? Jonathan Edwards. Not the psychic, but Jonathan Edwards, who wrote "Sinners in the Hand of an Angry God."
Yeah. It was
chilling.
It was fire and brimstone. It was, if you don't get yourself right, and it's this, there's, no grace.
Now it's just signs on a freeway.
That's right.
I'll see it says like Jesus or hell. And I'm like, I always go like, well, if those are my choices. I'm going Jesus. I'm going Jesus.
And then Dad was a non-denominational pastor, and did that for most of my life. And then when I went to high school, I guess he could see the signs, but he chose to not be a pastor for a while me and my sister were in high school, because he also...
What signs did he see?
Probably experiencing being a pastor's kid in high school was probably one for himself. And then he could kind of see my sister. There was a part of him that didn't want us to have that sort of magnifying glass on us, which was great.
I can't imagine the celebrity of pastordom.
Right.
And now you're eating dinner with a pastor.
It's weird.
Now you're in traffic with a pastor.
Yes.
And talk about repair. One of the things that bugs me is how, burdened a pastor is with being like that guy all the time, and he doesn't get to, and then the kids maybe do, but then like, where do you put that in the compartment? Now he's at church and he's Mr. Friendly.
You're right.
But why couldn't he? I think it'll happen, or it is happening, but the pastor that can just be like, "I was an asshole today." So needed.
Absolutely.
Right?
The best part about my dad being a pastor too is that he never over spiritualizes things. It's never a whoa, there were just, I remember moments being like, he's like, "I don't think that's a God thing." Which was helpful. Me and my mom are the kind of the extra spiritual, it's like, maybe it's, and so it was very nice to have a guy that just sort of, spoke his truth and, taught me incredible values, and allowed us to not be in a spotlight of expected to act a certain way, that if I'm smoking cigs in high school, all of a sudden it's a huge drama because I'm a pastor's kid, and it's the extra pressure to it.
Andy?
Yeah, exactly.
Andy's backsliding.
Yeah, exactly. No, it would be. It is that, and
you're like the first children.
Right. And which is weird and not cool.
Where in the gospel?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And you shall elect cheery. As Richard Rohr says, the word nice is not in the New Testament once. It's not in there.
That's fascinating.
And my favorite, I've heard other people say it. I thought I came up with it, but I've heard other people say it since. But it says that you love your neighbor. It doesn't say you have to like your neighbor.
Yeah.
But it turned into like, I say this a million times, but I love it every time. It's like some close talking, just insane, no social cue reading, annoying, weird voiced, cornering you in church person, and you have to be like, but you have to find something. She can drive stick. She
does have hair.
She's got hair, and she knows how to drive stick. It's like, can we just say it? Kathy's a fucking pill, dude. Why? And like, it becomes this. It works against you.
Yes.
Because you're trying to be like, let's be real. We're in the truth business, but you're going like, I love Daryl. You know, and it's like, you don't love Daryl.
No.
But that's why I got real interested in like, you know, deeper, or whatever you want to call it, looks at like, what are we called to love? Like the part of us that is the same as everything is like our essence, or like our God nature, or our awareness, or whatever you want to call it. You can love that. And you can also say no when it says, will you have a 5-hour lunch with me at a Chinese restaurant?
And I'm not sure that like unconditional empathy and love and forgiveness has to do with like boundaries for yourself as well. Like,
well, that's right.
You know,
what about loving yourself?
Correct.
What about forgiving yourself?
I mean,
and also, I would say the ego can't forgive, and I would even say the ego can't really love. I mean, it can. Don't get me wrong.
No, I love it. I just meant my brain hit something else about kids the other day. I realized that as well. Like,
you can love. I just think it's the higher part of you that's loving. Especially when you mention kids. I'm like, of course I love people. I love my daughter. I love my family. But like, that's
the difference is with the kids.
If
like I was going to bed the other night being like, if anyone like, it was a particularly annoying hour and a half to, you know, and it's like, we're really trying to shut it down. It just wouldn't stop. And it's like, if I felt the emotions I feel about them in that moment, about anyone else in my life, maybe outside of, you know, my family, I wouldn't like hang out with them anymore. I would have, my ego would have a hard time forgiving them. But this thing happens with kids. You're away from them for 10 minutes. And it's like, oh, I miss them and I love them. And I would never have a mean feeling about them in my life.
I know what you're talking about.
Just ego. Yeah, you're right. Like
well, what is the ego? The ego is this resisting, it's like the seeking, resisting activity. It's not even a real entity. It's like it's a constellation of memories and identities that you've built. It's not even real. So love is real, but it's coming from your true self. And the rest is kind of like, and it's valuable, acting kind comes from your personality, and that's very important. But like love, I think, is a much more radical thing.
Correct.
Than just being like, I like Andy. That's my ego. My likes you. But there's a part of me that's like, fucking fireworks love for you.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. There's just a deeper and when we're loving, we're actually tapping into that true nature.
Absolutely. Yeah. And more of it seems to show up, which is pretty fascinating.
Right. It's an inexhaustible resource.
Yes. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Well, did you have the fear of hell growing up?
Yeah. Still might. No,
I do too. Sometimes I catch myself being, if I'm in a bad mood, if I'm in a if I'm in a scared, fearful, uncomfortable place, I'm like, what?
I think, the idea of like, you know, just still, you hear so many kind of and so many different versions from different people that are all, you know, just like, you think about the people who probably, did you grow up in church?
Yes.
So you just think about the people who taught you the stories you've heard, who those people are. Like, a lot of those are crazy people, you know, that like had the task of like telling about 30.
What I say in my book is they were volunteers.
Of course, exactly.
There was a protest at my high school.
Bless them, you know,
because my science teachers didn't have bachelor's degrees or master's degrees or something. So the parents were protesting, and I'm like, meanwhile at the church, like it could have been someone with serious mental issues.
Yeah. Likely. Who else would volunteer at a church? I was kidding.
But there were of course. I'm thinking of Anne Lamott, who's a wonderful person who volunteers at Sunday schools. But like,
my wife volunteers.
Yeah. No, we're kidding. It cuts to us in a Looney Tunes hell trial, and they play this clip.
Far Side
everyone,
cartoon,
yes,
just me and you.
yes.
And that's when Andy and Pete realized they made a mistake. Yeah, totally. That's great.
The way Gary Larson drew the devil was so
perfect,
funny. So funny. But yeah, these were people. You know, the main reason I'm saying they were insane was because it was 1986, and everyone was insane. No one knew about therapy. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Nobody knew about anything.
Yeah.
And then we're in church, and the same people that were struggling at a Dunkin' Donuts are now sitting with me, and maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but I'm hitting save on everything they're saying.
Of course.
And they're saying what they were told, but I'm like really locked in, and then I'm embodying it, and now I'm all these years later still having to like fry off the remnants of this fear.
Totally.
Being afraid, George Carlin beat me to it, but like being afraid of love, like God is love, and we're afraid of.
Yeah,
is one of the funniest jokes.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's like I think the one for me is that sort of sticks in is still I'll revert to like what's the is there this moment at the very end where they pull out the checklist and just go, all right, should we start at the top?
Yeah, Mine is they scan your brain and see what you believed. Oh wow! What did you say you believed?
What did you say you believed?
Yeah,
that's even more interesting.
Even worse. It looks like you wore the. The Bible is ineffable sort of shoes. We'll check that out.
Luckily, my folks did not ever have a like works-based faith curriculum that was happening. Yes, it was like you are loved and we show love and God is love and you are loved by God and God loves everyone, so love everyone. I was not made to feel guilty like I didn't go to school so God was mad at me thing, which was
where'd hell come in that?
I guess it would be the do you believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God? Just what they would preach anywhere at any church. So the part that that kind of blew my mind about it all was like in 9th grade, having deep fear about hell and just basically deciding that I was going to look at all of this stuff myself in a real way as best as I could at 14, 15, but like I'm not going to allow what everybody else, they all have their own unique set of faiths and beliefs or whatever, so I'm going to investigate my own, and a bunch of our music was about that. And this still is like a conversation with God of like, man, I certainly don't have any information or intelligence to be preaching about anything, but like I'm definitely going to use music too as like a lens to explore my relationship with God and a higher power. Same here. And then you did that. I mean, you started. I think I'm still in the middle of it. It's like I don't think that's sort of like art. It's like it's always going to be a thing.
I hope you like this as much as I do. And then I just make a phone call.
Can you get Andy out of the studio, please?
No.
Pete, I'm here.
So Brian Murarescu, who wrote The Immortality Key, which is up there on the thing, I texted him. I said, I'm exploiting your expertise unashamedly and with great joy. In John 3:16, what can you tell me? He's a scholar. He knows Greek and Aramaic. He's like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I go, in John 3:16, can you tell me about how we translated the word believe? Pretty important.
Yes.
For God so loved the world,
whoever
believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. So the key word is believe.
It is.
And we've all sort of taken that to mean say it and think it a lot.
Sure.
I believe that. You know what I mean? Like I've done so many altar calls where I'm like, I believe.
Yeah.
He's the Son of God. I believe it. This seems like the $50 billion question. I can't believe I've never asked it before. He wrote, now you're revving my engines. Here's the original Greek of John 3:16. The boring verb circled, pistio, I can't say it, really does mean believe. Its nominal form, pistis, is the classic New Testament word for faith. But what does that really mean? And what's the promise here? The promise is entrusting one's soul to the process of deification, losing the mortal self to the eternal life, zoane, I'm going to stop reading the of the immortal self, losing the mortal self to the eternal life of the immortal self. So this is that recognition. This is the prodigal son remembering he's the son of the wealthy guy. It's just remembering your divinity, recognizing what we would say, this is triggering language for me, I wouldn't say it this way, but the Holy Spirit in you,
Sure.
the indwelling presence
Yes,
of God.
yes.
And believing that that is you and that's who Jesus was and that's who you are. But anyway, I'm adding my own stuff. Losing the mortal self to the eternal life of the immortal self. The identical phrase is used in John 6:54. Whoever munches my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life. The concordance here, and then he sent me the Greek with the circled words.
Amazing.
Just a casual text. He probably did it while driving.
I love that. Yeah, probably for him, right? That's amazing.
Anyway, then he said, my favorite, the conviction and trust to which a man is impelled by a certain inner and higher prerogative and law of his soul. Not blind faith in Jesus, trusting the process of immortalization.
Wow.
And immortalization is recognition. I've said this a million, but I'll say it every time I think of it. The prodigal son just remembers that he's God's son. He doesn't, no one is tortured in his stead. There's no declaration. He just remembers what is and was always true. And
Beautiful.
that's the gospel.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't wait to tell
I
you.
love that.
I'll say it every episode.
Oh, man, I
if
love
have
that.
to. Isn't that great?
Yes.
And that's the big story.
Yeah.
We've
Beautiful.
I feel like we've sort of, well, I'll say I had lost that. I thought it was like, no, blood sacrifice, belief.
Right.
Even grace was can be too much for me because I'm like, it's not recognizing who you are. There is a grace to that. I'll say that. But it's really just going like, I've been here the whole time. I've been okay the whole time. I know my Father. I trust my Father. It's okay to go home.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
Couldn't wait to
I am
tell you.
loved. That's
I'm
beautiful.
love.
Yeah.
I am love.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Let's do some ketamine.
All right, cool, man. Mark.
You're a bag man. I know everyone that listens to this, I say that a lot, but I mean, it lights me up. And especially to share it with you who comes from this tradition or whatever.
Yeah, it's still such I'm really grateful for it. I'm grateful that I've the more I read and kind of feel like it is my own very particular relational experience with the higher power, with God. And it's like, I feel not having to share the scary things that were used a lot of times to manipulate and control people using, 'cause that's sort of the worst part about any religion is like humans like using it to get what they want.
Yeah.
So yeah, just the ability to raise kids as well and like not, throw fear of you are a bad person,
Well, you just reminded me of one of my favorite G's. My favorite G's is he goes, they're talking about asking God for things or something. And Jesus says, what parent, it's funny, when their child asked them for bread, would give them a snake. And he's just going like, what do you think is going on here? You're not separate from it. You're a momentary apparent limitation of the infinite, seemingly separate. And you're going like, I'm afraid he's going to give me a snake when I ask for bread.
Wow.
Because that's why the dad image is so powerful. Some people maybe don't like it, but like source or creator or whatever does it for you. I like the dad thing. I'm like, this isn't an earthly dad. This is a dad that's not going to give you a snake.
That's right.
He says it over and over, but we love heads rolling and we love teams winning and we love. Well,
that's more conceptually and it should
winning.
be. Yeah, but it's like that's more acceptable to us.
It is.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to lose.
Right.
But when you're going like, no, God isn't in the place of win and lose.
Right.
But we are, so we're going to make God, our understanding of God,
That's exactly right.
Play in the same stakes we are. And I'm like, ugh.
Well, and just the concept of it. I think that was another thing too, as my brain sort of started to expand, where it was like, why would I think that like any particular human would have the idea of an all-powerful higher power figured out?
Yeah.
It's like,
well, that's a big one is you can't know it, but you can be it.
Right.
And you know that. And I'm sure you get that way when you're playing music.
Absolutely.
Where you just dissolve.
It's there. Yeah.
And you're like, ah. And you're like, it was there the whole
That's
time.
how I feel when I pray most of the time, you know. But
Yeah.
it's also sort of the idea of like praying without ceasing. It's like I just need to stay in this.
That's right. But that's a
this thing.
clue. What is prayer? It's not a laundry list of demands.
No, it is not. It is more like no, exactly.
state.
It is.
How
it is.
else
It's
could you do it
It's like
without
almost
stopping?
a beautiful acceptance of like I am going to take this moment where let's say TMI, but like had a moment where my wife and I thought we might be having a third child, and it was not so that we were planning on or whatever. It was in the middle of like a moment where it wouldn't have been like the best timing, you know, for that to happen.
I love the
And
way parents
I know,
talk.
right? I'm just being so politically correct.
Yeah.
But I realized, you know, I'd been in the middle of all this awesome success that was happening. And I was so thankful and very connected with, you know, God and just gratitude and this sort of, you know, thing. Then the moment that something came up, it was a little crossroads for me. It was like, wait a minute, are you going to switch it up now? Are you going to start praying for what you want? Is that what you think happens here? That you pray for what you want, you get what you want, and that? It's like, no, you stay in this place of gratitude and of love to be like, well, yeah, what happens is going to happen.
And a
here,
non-resistance.
Non-resistance, completely.
I reference it all the time, but the welcoming prayer, welcome, welcome, welcome. I welcome everything that happens to me today because I know it's for my healing. That's the place more than like, I know the big guy. I don't swear, drink, or have sex.
Right, no.
So he's going to listen to me.
Yeah.
We have a good thing going.
I failed that test.
Yeah,
you know,
I
forever
know.
ago.
I know. But that's not it. It's a state. And Richard Rohr was talking about sin isn't a little bad thing you did or a big bad thing you did. It's a state. It's a state of disconnect. It's a state of perverse autonomy, he calls it, where you really think you're isolated and
I love
you're doing
that.
it all yourself.
Yeah.
And he's like, and the
interesting.
other one, the God place is, that's why we always use words like spacious and connected and of service and all this stuff. And forgiveness is like an extreme engagement with your fellow everything.
That's right.
It's not, and whenever something terrible happens, you know, there are always a lot of people that do terrible things. Reclusive, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not what we're meant to do. That doesn't mean there are hermits and stuff that are reclusive.
No, I know what
doing
you
just
mean,
fine.
though.
But there's something about how we need each other, and forgiveness is like love in action. You know what I mean? It's like let's get really wild
Truly.
with this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is love in action.
I don't know
love
if
that. Let's do some ketamine.
Mark. Love that Mark's just kicking it with Scout. This is a nice
Right?
moment. Well, this was incredible,
Dude.
I'm loving
Thank you.
this.
I
Thank
was
you.
not nervous in a negative way, but I've been looking forward to
I'm
this.
so glad.
Such a
Sorry I
fan
had
of
to
yours.
move it around.
Fine. Totally
This
fine.
worked out really well.
This worked out perfectly for
Really?
me. Yes, because I was about to go into, if we would have done it when it was, yes, it just was,
I'm so
It was
glad.
great. No, this is great.
And I just want to say, you know, it's Val's birthday is coming up, and we're staying here in LA a couple nights, and we had drinks last night, and I'm at this bar, and I think it's important that I don't drink. Maybe bars they do more sense when you're drinking.
Sure.
But I'm at this bar, and I'm just yelling a lot of the same things we've been talking about. And I'm like, this sucks. And what a privilege for me.
Yeah.
Because I get to do this.
Yeah.
It's so quiet in here.
yeah, totally.
You're right here.
I love that.
You can talk.
Yes.
What a gift.
And I don't feel socially exhausted. If we had this thing at a bar, I would be very tired right now. I feel
I would have
energized.
left. I feel so much more energy
Yeah.
too. I'm just glad that, I don't know. It's back to sensitivity. I'm too sensitive to go around yelling conversations and pieces of them, and someone interrupts and I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. And then I'm just so, and I think it's only gotten worse maybe because I know how good it is to
be like
actually
really
connect.
intimate. Yeah, absolutely.
And
But you're
so
like
thank
me.
you.
They open the door once, you hear one dog bark, and all of
Close
a sudden
it.
you're somewhere else. You know?
Close it.
Like,
Did you watch Tar?
Oh, yeah.
Remember when they go like, they say people's sensitivity to sound is a sign of genius, and I was
You
like,
felt very good about yourself during the car. I, remember
I was
that.
like 1986 Bill Cosby. The theme song playing. I just felt very pleased. But that's where we started. I was like, you must be so sensitive, and I mean that as a compliment. 'Cause
Yeah.
What you're bringing back is precious stuff. So
Thank you,
I'm
man.
a huge fan.
Same here.
So delighted that we
pleasure.
got to do
Me
this.
too.
Anything you want to plug at the end here?
No, not a thing. I'm going to be working for the next several months doing what I'll then hopefully come back and plug later. So,
there you go. And then there'll be those shows, the workshop shows.
We are doing workshop shows, yeah. And we are going to announce a tour or some dates later this year. We do have a show in Brooklyn at the Paramount Theater in September. But yeah, mostly it's a creative year, which is going to be very good to fill up that bucket, you know?
I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
What a privilege to
you
talk
too,
with
man.
you.
Thank you.
Would you say keep it crispy? It's just how we sign off. You say keep it crispy.
Keep it crispy.
Yeah. Your voice, it sounds like you're losing your voice.
Wait.
That was awesome.
You made it weird. You made it weird.